All right, so I'm going to turn over to John because I owe him the opportunity to present his, and he has promised me less than 10 minutes. Right, John?
Right. And Tyler has promised me that he's going to show my
Right
spreadsheet.
there, he's got it up already.
Way ahead too.
Wow, that's great.
Yes, Naomi, I'm just going to answer quickly Naomi's answer live. That is in fact the goal. We want it available for the public to be able to view before the public hearing. So we are all on the same page. All right, go for it, John.
Okay, so again, apologies to everyone for my not being visible, but it's important that you be able to hear me. And apologies as well if it seems like, what's this guy doing, taking on a whole bunch of recommendations from a whole bunch of parts of the process, whereas the other committee members stuck to a much narrower set of applications for their reviews. But as I've explained at past meetings, I really found it impossible to decide what I thought my recommendations were.
Oh, John, we lost your audio. John, we can't hear you. Is it just me? We lost John's audio. Okay.
I can't hear him either. He's not
Seems-
muted.
It seems frozen.
How about
You have to-
now?
Oh, okay.
We can hear you now. Yep.
Okay, sorry, that's the problem. So anyway, I did look at every application in context of every other application, and this is what I came up with. And I took the approach of deciding what are the big chunks first, and that led me to a recommendation of the Boston Housing Authority money, and also a recommendation of a pretty hefty chunk of school committee or school department money. Where the school department money is concerned, I was guided by a principle that also guided me in other areas. And that is, to the maximum extent possible, avoid funding positions and concentrate on funding one-time only expenditures. And so after dealing with the big amounts, like the housing authority amount and the school department amount, I then looked at all of the other applications and generally found something of value in just about every subcategory of applications. In other words, if there were a whole bunch of community organizations that had requests, I thought that money should go to most of them. The library had a whole bunch of requests. I thought there were within those requests several that should be funded. Same thing for Public Works, same thing for Chamber of Commerce, same thing for Planning and Community Development. Tyler, if you could scroll back up to the top. Same thing for library. And then I showed what would be the applicant subtotal of the request from the applicant of all their items versus what my recommendation would be for their items. And I also tried to stick to a budget overall, which would be about 20 million bucks. And so that's what's showing here. And that's it. And that's well under 10 minutes, I think.
Yes, it is. Thank you, John. And I'll say that while I complimented you, this was a really nice kind of starting frame. I think it's important for your digestion of this, that these are all your recommendations. This is the whole 20 million. And so we need to come up with the slate that has the lens of mine and Brian and Jenny and Arthur and the select board stuff. So some of the stuff here isn't going to make the final slate or in different amounts.
Oh, absolutely understood.
Okay, great.
And in fact, I think, and I hope what we'll find is that there's at least one other committee member who agrees with almost every one of my recommendations. Not all of them, but at least one other. We'll see.
All right. Okay, hang on. So, okay, well, I have to say I agreed with a lot, but not all. And I
Yeah.
think even though I agreed with a lot, I still think as we've gone through the process, some things I wanted to fund at the beginning, looking at the forest, I know we're just not going to be able to fund them because other things are just taking priority. So even though I think some of these things are worthy of funding, some of them just aren't going to make the cut.
Well, the other members of the committee get a say on that too, don't they?
Oh, yes. I mean, I think that's probably true for all of us. I think that there are lots of things we all want funded that aren't going to make the cut. Yes, I'm not speaking. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying in general.
Okie doke.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa. We're going to have a discussion on departmental capital outlay requests. And then you guys were going to dig in. Hi, Arthur. All right.
You're muted, Arthur.
Arthur, you're still mute. There you go.
I got you. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry.
No worries.
So I just put together a quick summary of kind of capital outlay history for police, fire, and DPW. Erin is in the attendee list, and Kevin Johnson is also in the attendee list. If there is more information, I think Erin's also planning a follow-up memo for the committee so that they can understand some of the needs in the departments with respect to capital equipment. And so let me just pull this up very quickly. So this just shows the history of capital outlay for those three departments. So you have the fiscal 20 total allocations, the pre-COVID allocations for the three departments, the adjustments that we had to make because of COVID, and then we've pretty much, especially for DPW, kind of level funded from the COVID cut. And so you can see over the 3 years of funding since COVID, the loss in what DPW and police and fire would have normally received for capital outlay support. So, that essentially means that the equipment is aging at a faster rate than, we would have been able to have, without COVID. And you're going to see that then bleed into maintenance needs in DPW as the repairs for these all of these pieces of equipment is going to put more pressure on their budget as well. So I think we really would like to just advocate for some level of restoration in these areas, because I think that what we were trying to do was avoid layoffs, and the equipment seemed to be something that could be one time in nature, through ARPA, that potentially could help us gain back some of the losses that the town has sustained. So if there are any other questions, Kevin and Erin are here. Otherwise, there'll be a memo that will follow this that will give a little bit more information to the committee as well.
Okay, thank you. That was excellent and very concise. Much appreciated. Any questions from committee members? Okay, so here's what I'm hoping. Tyler's going to pull up the Excel, and what I'd like to do is fairly quickly, if we can, look at the top line items that have much more broad support. So the tally numbers are 3 or higher, and they might even be higher because I think some of the committee members have not had a chance to weigh in. And I think for some of these, we can just say, yes, this is going to go on the slate. And then just, I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on them, but let's see. So the first one is this one at the top, the pedestrian safety study. And this got quite a lot of support. I think Jenny and Arthur, you have not had a chance to chime in, so I don't know how you feel about it. But this basically got the highest, and it's about 200,000. And so unless I think what I'm going to do is, should we just take a vote on each one of these? How do you guys want to handle this?
If you could make it just a little larger so that I can.
Yeah. Trying to do this and show as much of the pertinent information at the same time.
Yeah, I think you could probably get rid of
Yeah.
F and G right now.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I will say, just because I know some people are going to be wondering about the scores, these tallies do kind of fall in line really well with where the scores are at, but the tallies are not what are being used to make final determinations. So high tallies, the stuff that has this high select board and committee support does not necessarily mean at the end of the day
Right.
that it's going to make it, and with the stuff that's going to be lower. So I just want to point that out because I think that needs to be mentioned.
Go ahead, Brian. Thank you, Tyler. Yes, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler. I guess I was just going to suggest that if something has 4 or more votes, we should probably just accept it at this point.
Right. That's fine with me. I just want to go through line by line and I'll just ask if there are any objections. And if then people can raise their hand and speak if there's any objections for this first part. How's that sound to everybody? Give me a thumbs up if you're good with that. Good. Arthur, good. Okay, great. All right. So going on the slate, Tyler, you're good if I say it like that so it's very clear? Is
Yeah.
2271 Public Works total cost and recommended funding 198,000.
Now, let me shrink this a little bit more.
Yeah, that's fine. There you go. Great. Brookline Housing Authority. For 4 million. And I'm going to say this we're going to start at 4 million. And depending on how everything else pans out, that number might go up, but the minimum will be 4 million so that we're unlocking other funding, matching funding, maximizing matching funding opportunities for the Brookline Housing Authority.
That,
So-
excuse me. that
Yes,
goes-
Arthur.
That goes to 10 million, right?
It
Is-
could, that 4 million open, yes, becomes 10 million because
Yes,
we're
okay.
unlocking a 2-to-1 matching.
Right, okay.
Correct. So 2253 goes on the slate. 2243 Public Works Pedestrian and Commercial Area Lighting Study for 400,000 goes on the slate. If you have objections,
whoa.
you have to.
Well,
Go ahead.
well, sorry, I need to ask a question about that if I
Yes,
may.
please.
I mean, a minute ago, I heard Brian say, if there's 4 votes, let's say yes. This has 2.
This has
Um,
5.
Oh, well, but you're counting the select board and,
Yes, I am counting the select board.
okay.
Oh, wait, John, did you take your vote off of this? Because I don't think that I updated this. Or I don't think that was updated.
I did take my vote off of that. So
Well,
thank you.
Put
for-
I was about to
yeah.
say, you could put my
Remember,
vote
yeah.
there.
I was
Jenny
trying to track it between
and
the ones.
Arthur, do you want to vote on this? Put your X by if yes or no?
Which
I
one is
haven't
this?
reviewed this one. And if we didn't include the select board's votes, we don't have 4 votes for the entire committee on any of them. Is that correct?
That's
Like, we
correct.
could not just limit this to 4 votes from the committee because basically that doesn't exist, it seems.
Yeah,
That's
but it's the committee that is voting at this meeting.
Oh, no,
And 2 out of 5
But
is not
John,
even a majority.
John, we're just
understand.
putting a slate together. In the end, it's the select board that has to vote on the slate. So if we
Yeah, I
don't
know.
consider their preferences in putting the slate together, we're not going to have a slate that they're going to approve.
Well, I know, but are we going to allow for the possibility that we might have a better idea than they have at this point in the process because they haven't seen our recommendations yet?
Well, I think we'll have that discussion on Monday, but I think, some of these, the select board has made very clear they want to see advanced. And frankly, this is one of them, the pedestrian and commercial area lighting study. So,
So,
you know,
but I'm sorry, I don't mean to be stubborn about this, but if the select board were asked, as they were, to just tell us what they like without any compulsion to figure out a budget that actually adds up to $20 million, that's not the same thing as what we're doing in this meeting, and they're not here. And in the context of all of the other things we're going to discuss, there could be changed minds on the select board.
John,
And to suddenly give them 3 votes in this process when they're not even here and haven't looked at the whole thing, I just don't think is a good way to go forward.
but John, I have to disagree, first of all, and then I'll call on Brian. First of all, we are going to have a joint discussion with them on Monday. Second of all, they have looked at these and they have given their preferences. And because in the end, it is us as the select board that makes the final vote, I think we do have to consider their preferences every step of the way. I think if we put a slate together without doing that, then we're setting ourselves up for failure. But I'm gonna let Brian talk.
Thanks. I guess to make this easy on ourselves, let me propose that we take anyone that has 3 votes from the committee and elevate them. And we'll go through those real quick, see where we're at. Then we'll get to the ones that have less than 3 votes, but more than 2, or 2 or more anyway, and go through those.
We can do that. I think that's a great idea. My only concern is that Jenny and Arthur, I don't think had the chance to chime in on all the rest of the proposals.
I guess I understand. I also just need, I'm cognizant that we need to make progress.
Yes, right.
So trying to find a shortcut, admittedly. All right, so Tyler, can you figure out which have 3 or more votes from the committee only? And kind of put those on the top?
Yeah,
Nothing like Excel in real time, huh?
love it.
Mhm. Brian, thank you for that suggestion, by the way. I think that's a good suggestion.
Blessed be the peacemakers, John.
Blessed be the peacemakers.
Jenny has her hand raised.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Go ahead, Jenny.
I like the suggestion. I appreciate it, Brian. I think this is a good way to look at it. It doesn't exclude that we're going to talk about what the select board is interested in, but it gets to the fact that we're the committee members and we have some, at least some votes that appear to be more, 3, multiple ones. In fact, I was going to say though, I haven't read all of them, but I have read some of them and I would like to add my vote to the top item. I have reviewed that proposal.
The pedestrian zero.
Public work, is that the public works?
That's
Yes,
Public Works
Vision
Vision Zero, yeah, and Complete Streets. And then I don't know if we want to clarify the question about the Housing Authority funding, which is in the Q&A. Miriam.
yeah, we are gonna, that person is more than welcome to ask their question at the end. I think we need to get our work done. I was gonna say that, so thank you, but yes, David, please ask at public comments and then we'll address it then. Great.
And
Jenny, are
I
there
think
other
another
X's you want to add while we're at it, or do you want to do it as we go down? And same
As
with
we go.
Arthur, if you want us to put your tally in.
Let's do this line by line, because I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
if we're already doing this line by line, we might as well just
Keep doing it. Okay.
keep on.
So starting over very quickly, 2271 is in, 2253 is in at 4 million. The Steps to Success program. 22.4, 1.4, is that the fully recommended? Yep. Okay.
Oh,
Can I please be added to that?
yes. Arthur, I know we talked about this earlier. Were you supporting the expansion in the kindergarten, or was this a second?
No, I was not supporting the second one with the kindergarten and
Okay.
recommending that they ask for funding the next go around.
Okay,
Oh, is that this one? You want funding for the next go round for this, Arthur?
Yes, for the kindergarten.
That's what this one is.
Yes, I'm saying, fund the one that has the scholarships, I think it is.
That's 22.5 down there.
And the kindergarten one, let them fund or apply the next go around.
Can I ask what your rationale for that is?
Well, I think that as I understand it, many of the lower income youngsters were not achieving academically in their MCAS scores. that black and brown students, I'm not saying they all come from Steps of Success, but the black and brown students were not achieving in their MCAS scores. Let them get their number one proposal right, and
Geez,
and then come back.
Um,
I also want to note, just for the record, because the audience can't see this, but I believe if there were a column to the right, they would see that my recommendation for the amount is not the full 1,400,000,
yeah,
but a lesser amount.
can I, and what is your recommendation, John? Can we see what John's recommended amount is?
$500,000.
Okay. How about this? Let's put this one to discuss a little later, because
The number
Um,
two or both of them?
the kindergarten one.
Okay, right. Okay, good. Okay.
Is everybody okay with that? Jenny's got her hand up.
I'm okay with that. I was going to make a comment about the housing authority. If we're correcting the recommendations, my recommendation in the spreadsheet was $10 million.
Yes, it was, right.
For the housing authority further up the line, you mean, it might have been the second thing that we discussed?
The second row, yes, or third.
Yeah. This was the one where I didn't follow that because of a previous conversation about the
Right,
match.
your recommendation is Jenny is 10, we know that, but I think the rest of the committee settled on 4.
Right. No, I was just pointing
Right.
out that my
Or- yeah,
recommendation was
sure.
higher.
Okay, great. All right, moving on, 22-1 town clerk. Well, yep, go ahead, Melissa.
The only thing that I would like to flag here is that I don't remember who this was assigned to, but it might be worth having a follow-up discussion with Ben about whether or not this is relying on a change in law. And then if there is a change in law, if it's an unfunded mandate, there likely could be state funds that would support it. So just something that we should probably sort through before, escalating to the next round.
But it's such a tiny amount. I mean, I don't, it's not, we're not talking, $180,000. We're not talking, this is.
It's true, but if there's, if they're likely.
there's
could be
other
out
money.
there.
But here's what I would do instead, Melissa, is I'd escalate it to the next round while we get clarity from Ben, and then we can always
Okay.
take it off.
Yep.
I'd rather have it there than have to then accommodate it.
Do we want to address the chat really quick?
Yeah, so actually what I want to do is keep going.
Okay,
Because if we keep getting interrupted in the chat, then we're never going to get through this. So actually, to the public, please keep your comments till the end for public comment, and then we'll address them. I see it's not, I see what you said, but that's not going to affect our discussion right now. So, and again, I don't want advocacy for proposals in the chat. The chat is really just for, you used a term I don't understand. Can you please explain it? Or if we have done something factually incorrect, like Juan has said that the recommendation number is wrong, we need to fix that. But otherwise, we're not going to address chat questions unless it's a factual correction. And also, the comment in the Q&A, I really don't think this is an appropriate place for comments like that. So I'll ask you to refrain from making comments like that. And that anonymous attendee comment is going to be dismissed by me right now. Oh,
Miriam, it's John. I
Yeah.
have what might be a correction, and I just want to be sure we get this
Sure.
all clarified. So Steps to Success, the program that we looked at just a minute ago, that had a number of 1,400,000.
yes.
When a spreadsheet was sent out to we on the committee earlier, it said that the consensus on the committee was that should be funded at 1 million, not 1,400,000.
there was a mix up with the input I received from Arthur. That was why.
Okay.
So this sheet was updated based on what we were doing in OneDrive earlier. So some of this
Okay.
is going to look a little different than the, oh, because you have a Google Doc, that's why.
Okay, because I went along with the million. And that's why I was kind of surprised to all of a sudden see
See the
1,400,000.
But that's okay, because we're going to discuss it.
Yeah.
We're going to come back to it, John.
Okay, just want to be sure.
Yep, I'm just gonna, again, I said, I apologized in my email earlier to everyone. I just need to keep us going. So the Brookline Food Pantry request, the funding recommendation is 300,000. What's to the right of that, Tyler? I can't see.
This was on John's sheet for $500,000.
500,000 and the Arthur's for 300,000.
Correct.
All right, so I think we all agreed to be funded. The question is how much? John, are you comfortable with 300,000 or you really want 500,000?
I do want 500,000, and I think what people will discover when we get to that point of the discussion is it is by reducing the amount of other things such as, I'm lower than the other members of the committee on the Housing Authority recommendation. And one of the reasons why is because I thought we should do a little bit better by things like the food pantry.
That may
Can I
be,
ask a
but I
question?
think the 4 million is really the minimum for Housing Authority to leverage the matching funds. So how about this? Would you be amenable if we split the difference and put 400,000 for the food pantry, and then we could always revisit once we get final numbers?
Yeah, I mean, I'm amenable to all of this changing once we discuss the whole thing as a package. I also want people to know that one of the reasons that I came to that conclusion about the Housing Authority is that this is not the only year that we are going to maybe consider them for a considerable chunk of money. So, I'm kind of thinking of it in terms of what we're going to give them next year as well.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I think for this, what we're doing right now, that's neither here nor there. What I want to know is are you comfortable if we put the Brookline Food Pantry starting at 300,000 or 400,000, and then we can revisit and up it? Depending
Sure,
on
starting at 300,000 is fine with me.
All
Yeah.
right, fabulous. And
Yeah.
then 2254, we're gonna put that on the slate. That's also the town clerk. Melissa, do we need to also ask Ben about that, or we're good?
The poll pads are definitely something that I've talked about, with Ben during the budget. So I'm comfortable with that one. The early voting is really around whether or not it's allowable.
Okay. I will check in with him.
I mean, the
on that.
mail-in voting, not the early voting.
Yeah, I will check in with him on that. Great. Super, we're making progress, people. The Brookline Teen Center Equitable Recovery Program. So Arthur, you recommended 2 million. John, you recommended 500. How's everybody else feeling about this program? Jenny and Brian, I don't know if you guys had a chance to review it at all.
I did review this one and the next one as well. This one I would be okay with 500,000.
Okay. And Brian, any comment?
I guess let's go low at this point, knowing we can always add to it.
Okay. Arthur, are you okay with if we start out with 500,000 for the teen center?
As opposed to,
The 2 million that you had recommended.
yeah, sure, yes.
Okay.
Only, and the reason that I'm saying that, and I had a conversation with Miriam earlier in the day, okay? Some of these programs have gotten grants from the Brookline Foundation, their teen program or their children's program. Do you understand what I'm saying? I got an email announcement from them, from the Brookline Community Fund, about programs that they have funded for children or for teens. And the Brookline Teen Center was one of the groups that got funded
Yeah.
through that. Okay, so it's not like they have no money or they're having less money than they expect. They're actually double dipping.
Yeah. Well, I think double dipping might be.
Yeah, I
but-
agree.
but-
Okay.
But yes, but I hear what you're saying, which is they have other sources of funding to help
Absolutely.
supplement some of this programming.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So we all agree 500,000 for BCF 2270. I think we all, well, John, Arthur and I agree 500K. Jenny and Brian, are you guys good with that?
Yes, definitely. Yeah,
Okay, great.
please. Add
Um,
my check there, please. And to the top, the line above as well, my vote.
22.6 and 22.7. Yeah,
I'll be right back. I'm sorry.
that's it. Well, oh, okay. Pedestrian and commercial area lighting study for 400,000. So I think Brian and I are the two X's. Brian, you want to sell this?
Sure. So this comes out of a town meeting warrant process from a year or two ago. Basically, the idea is to do a light study to make it safer for people to walk around town, especially in our commercial areas. So it gets at economic development, it gets at pedestrian safety, and it meshes very well with the Vision Zero study that we're trying to do at the top of the page. So it, it's one of those ones that if implemented, will make Brookline a better place for everyone, regardless of socioeconomics or any other criteria. So,
Does this,
I think it's a winner.
does this one also, I thought I heard during this select board, this one also does leverage other grant funding, which I was not aware of. Or is that just Vision Zero, or is that the PED lighting study as well?
Well, the Vision Zero one makes us eligible to score higher on state grants. I don't believe this one does, but I have to go back and look.
Miriam, may I make the argument against this?
You may.
And I do so at risk of offending wonderful people like David Trivette and others who did a terrific study on this, which was delivered to town meeting a year or so ago, and everyone should read it. However, I don't think anything is at stake immediately in terms of if we don't approve this $400,000, we will never get pedestrian-friendly lighting. I do think $400,000 is an awful lot for a consultant study on top of what was a very thorough study that was done just over a year ago. And again, maybe it seems unfair to make the excellence of that study a reason not to vote at this point just yet on $400,000 for, a consultant to do work. But I think we need time to take a real look at the study and figure out what is a realistic timetable for implementation of pedestrian and commercial area lighting study, lighting in Brookline, and then decide, is $400,000 really necessary to do the next phase consultant study? Or could, a slightly more modest consultant study be appropriate? And could it be next year, but not this year? There's an awful lot of competing possibilities for that $400,000 that I think rise higher than this particular item.
Okay, I'm going to let Jenny go, and then Brian, I have a thought, but I'll let Brian respond to that. Go ahead, Jenny.
I answered my own question, actually, so I'm all set.
Okay. Brian. And Brian, I guess I think John's bringing up a good question, which is we have this study. So shouldn't we just ask them to come back with a proposal for phase 2 for money to actually implement some of the suggestions in the study? Would that be a better next step?
I think you're getting to the heart of the issue, which is who do we ask? Do we ask the fine civilians that did the work to come back with detailed specs to go out to industry to purchase?
I see what you're saying.
Or who? There is no who.
There is
So
no who.
we need.
So this study
need the
is
consultant to
actually
come in
the
and do-
next step.
Yeah, it's the technical work to figure out we need to buy this many of these widgets and this many of those sprockets and put them all together and we get what we want.
John, that's actually very helpful for me to hear. John, does that
Yeah.
help you?
Well, only up to a point. The problem is where in our program of future capital improvements are we imagining pedestrian-friendly lighting being part of the capital improvement? And if we do have a future capital improvement where we're imagining pedestrian friendly lighting being part of that, then we figure out, what will it take to study to do what you just described, Brian, for that particular project. But there could be just one project and it could be 5 years away. So I don't see the urgent need to spend this $400,000 right now.
So I guess
John,
you
I
lost
see
me
your-
there, John. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
No, I was going to say, John, your points are very valid. I guess what it comes down to is the way that DPW, as I understand it, is trying to evolve's the wrong word, trying to change their processes is as new standards come in, that becomes the standard for Brookline. So in other words, whenever a light bulb goes out on a street light somewhere in Brookline, instead of replacing it with the old, fluorescent burning one that we currently use, we're going to go out and have a new standard that we're going to go out and use every single time we replace a bulb. And I think that's what this is trying to get us to. And it's literally doing the technical work to get us there. And I don't think,
Yeah.
so I think it's more of an ongoing maintenance issue than a pure capital issue.
I would only just add one note to what you said. And it gets to a fundamental sort of difference of our understanding of what is pedestrian friendly lighting implies. And I don't think it's just about things like, what standard of lighting do we put in the fixture? It's about where, excuse me, where do we think pedestrian friendly lighting is a priority? Because it's not everywhere. And if so, what kind of lighting fixture and what kind of, bulb in the socket do we need for there to be pedestrian friendly lighting? It involves lighting at a high level and at a low level as well.
So at this
No pun
point, I'm
intended.
just going to ask Jenny and Arthur to weigh in on how they feel about this so we can decide to keep it or move it down for now.
Based on this conversation, I think my thought is to move it down. And I see how it dovetails with the number one item, which we all are enthusiastically supporting. But I think I would push this one a little further down. I'd like to talk about some of these other ones that get at vulnerable populations and economic recovery. Those are my priorities.
And Arthur, what about you? Thank you, Jenny.
Ditto. I think that they're,
Okay.
all right.
All right.
They're higher priorities for me if I had to, choose.
All right. Then speaking of higher priorities for you, Arthur, the Steps to Success double scholarship funding. Jenny and Brian, thoughts, because you haven't.
I didn't review this one, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. No. So this is scholarship funding for the college Steps to Success college success program, which I can tell you just because I know a little bit about it, it's a very successful program to help low-income students in Brookline complete 4 years of college. Did I get that right, Arthur?
Yes.
Okay, so Arthur's recommendation is $1 million. I support that. How does everyone else feel?
Do you mind if I step in?
Go right ahead, John.
This is actually another example of something that was originally sent out to the committee as being a $500,000 agreed upon recommendation. And then that's why one of the reasons.
You changed it to $1 million?
No, I didn't change it to $1
Oh.
million. I'm telling you that on the basis that it was 500,000, I said yes.
Okay.
And Arthur hadn't weighed in, and it's fine that Arthur has weighed in at $1 million, but I don't know how that became what we're now voting on.
Well, it's not. That's why you speak up and you say, I think it
Yeah.
should be 500,000, and then we have a conversation. That's what's
Right.
happening now, John.
Yeah, but
So-
it wasn't just me who said it should be 500,000. It was,
Who else?
for some reason, it was what was circulated with the entire committee as being a consensus recommendation.
Well, I think that the funding recommendation is the recommendation of the person who was actually tasked for reading that proposal.
Okay.
Okay, that's you'll see that under mine also. But I think personally, I actually think 500,000 is a fine place to start.
Okay,
Because we have to cut these numbers down. And if we start at 500,000, we, again, once we get kind of all the numbers, I'd rather, start lower and then see where we are. So is 500,000 okay with you, Arthur?
yes, yes.
Okay, great.
Great.
Miriam, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Tyler, can you please do a sum of, what is it, R5 to R10, just to see where we're at?
Oh, yeah, it's right here.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, that's down to 24. So what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, wait, never mind. Okay. So we're at 11.
For the,
And just for your reference too, we have the buckets over here. These are automated, so we're tracking all of these as well. So
Great.
it might be good to have a quick brief of where we're sitting.
yeah, I kind of thought we would get through the top ones first and then
Okay,
do exactly that.
perfect.
And we're almost done, I think, right? Well, no, we're not. We're
no.
getting there, about halfway. Okay.
Need to keep on trucking.
I mean, let's just note this for we're halfway through and we're about halfway through the money, and that's 24
Yeah.
projects. That's really good.
But I think some of the, yes, I'm just gonna say yes. The Brookline Center for Community Mental Health, this was one I reviewed, and I feel pretty strongly that this should be funded fully, again, because mental health needs are so pressing right now. And that this is really community-centered mental health and in an organization that knows how to provide these services and has the infrastructure existing and has the ability to actually transition some of the programming to Medicare and Medicaid and all of that as they advance. So I just need to know how everybody else feels. Arthur, Jenny, and Brian.
I would like to support this one as well.
Which one is
That's
this?
This
Sorry.
is urgent care stabilization for Brookline Center for Community Mental Health, Arthur. So their goal is to hire like a child psychiatrist, a prescribing psychiatrist, which to me is huge, to specifically for urgent uses. So somebody who really urgently needs intervention, there'll be more resources, because I'll tell you right now, it's almost non-existent, urgent psychiatric care.
But what are we getting for $1 million?
We're getting a whole program that includes a whole urgent care psych response program.
Can someone send, Tyler, you need to send me that before Monday.
So
Okay.
Miriam,
Yeah,
you
Brian.
know, as part of trying to beat down the stigma, I'm a patient at this place, and they do amazing.
Fabulous, isn't it? Yeah.
And I think there desperately is a need for prescribers in general for mental health. So please add me to this list.
Yeah.
I
I
have
have
not
to say,
read
I've
that.
used their services and they are really very fantastic. What'd you say, Arthur?
I have not read this proposal.
That's fine. We'll give you, it is in the inbox and you can absolutely take a look at it.
Okay,
But
Thank you.
I think still it makes the list for now.
okay.
Council on Aging cares funded transportation for older adults. John, I think you reviewed this one, right?
Right.
Does it
Yep.
need the full amount?
Well, yeah, I think it does. I mean, this is an example of Council on Aging programs are very well sort of backed up by a track record of delivering, and also a track record of figuring out ways once the funding runs out to maybe replace the funding with some grant funding. So, I can't think of anything more essential for older adults. I'll put food
transportation.
first
Yeah.
and then being able to get around second.
Yeah.
And
Well, and it's over 4 years, I realize too. So
Yes,
it's actually not
yes.
that much.
that's the other thing
Yeah.
that persuaded me.
Jenny, Brian, and Arthur, any thoughts?
No,
Sounds wonderful. I need to review the proposal, which I
Okay.
will do.
In the interim, should we keep it on the top list? I'm gonna take
Yes.
that as a yes. Okay. Women Thriving. 8-month training program run by women thriving for immigrant women in work skills and personnel. You could put my X by that one also.
And I wholly support that.
Okay, great.
mean,
And
for the-
actually, here's a funny, John recommended full funding and Arthur recommended 250,000. I think we should start with the 250,000. And again, once we have final numbers, we can always bump up if we need to. Is that okay with everybody? Yep, great. Youth engagement, Brookline's commercial parklets. And Jenny, you really like that program. Do you want to talk about it for a minute?
Sure. This is basically the build out of parklets using teens and in all of the commercial areas. And it's a DPW and Planning and Community Development Initiative. It basically enhances the existing and also adds new parklets, which were extremely successful. And I just think it's a very unique program and I'm very supportive of it. And it seems like a reasonable amount of money to
Okay.
both build them out, have teams helping, and then also maintain them, which I think is really important because they need to be maintained over the season.
Got it. Okay. Brian and Arthur, I'm fine with moving that forward. Brian and Arthur, any
Yep,
objections?
I'm fine with it too.
Ditto.
And then the next one, the
Appreciate
Coolidge Corner storefront pop-up program over a 5-year period. I do wonder a little bit about this one. So Jenny, do you mind?
Sure. This one is about looking at vacant storefronts, working with entrepreneurs and various small business owners, and creating sort of pop-up opportunities in those vacant storefronts. It's a 5-year program. It dovetailed nicely with 2219, which is an up here, which was a seasonal pop-up program with sort of more, seasonally oriented activities like around the holidays and other time periods where there could be sort of more festivities and engagement. I just think that this program, again, I would love to see more of the economic recovery items from planning and community development elevated. Because I really think it's vital that we focus on our commercial districts as part of the economic recovery and particularly nurture our small business community.
All right. Other comments by other members?
Well, just to say, I'm totally with Jenny on this.
Okay. Brian, Arthur?
I think your dog likes it, so.
I know, sorry. And I can't mute myself, so
No, mute the dog.
I wish. Tyler, can you do me a favor and scroll down just a little bit more? I just want to see how many more we're
right there. We're looking at the bottom.
okay. All right, good. And that 11 million is everything that's here right now, right? All right, great. Great. So let's advance that one then. 2251. I'm also going to say this is a school, again, anything mental health focused right now, especially with students, I think needs to be highly prioritized. And this was a proposal that was made in conjunction with the schools to address student needs, mental health needs. So I'm a big fan of it. Arthur, Jenny, Brian? Any objections?
No objections.
All right, we'll move that forward. Center Street lot study to create a new public space. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
good.
small business relief. Do you want to talk about both of these, Jenny? And can we give any, do we really have to fund both of them fully? I guess is my next question, since we're.
Yeah, I think for the first one, which is the Center Street lot study, we
Yeah.
could there is an earmark funding request for $300 to be revisited prior to the completion of the conceptual planning phase. So this is funding for 3 components: a parking and curb utilization and management study, and then a conceptual planning phase, which is $250,000, and then engineering investigations and conceptual design. for 300,000. So the 300,000, according to the proposal, which is another partnership between Planning and Community Development and DPW, suggests that the earmark of $300,000 could be revisited. It seems to me that maybe it would be okay to take that off. I have not, but in my conversation with the department head of Planning and Community Development, I think that's a possibility, but it doesn't
So-
mean that they won't need it in a second phase when
right.
we reopen. So just keep that in mind.
So
Um,
the funding recommendation would then be 300,000 now and then 350 at another in phase 2.
I think it's 350 now and then
Oh, 350
300,
now.
right?
Okay,
Right, exactly. Thank you, John.
yeah, great.
Yeah, I
But
just
you
wanna-
know,
Yeah, go
agree.
ahead. You
Go
want to
ahead,
agree?
Brian.
Okay, so let's do that if that's okay with everybody.
We,
So Tyler, it's
so-
going to be 350 now
Okay.
for the funding
I just wanted
recommendation.
to make sure, because I heard
Yeah.
take it off and then, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And the small business relief grant program,
this is basically taking a pre-COVID assistance through a small business relief grant program that the town operates to provide direct financial assistance to support the successful recovery of Brookline businesses that were most impacted by COVID. So there's, a really big opportunity here. Again, collectively, we have to help our small business community. These are all things that help both the pedestrian scale improvements, getting people to want to be back in our business districts, getting people the opportunities that they need to thrive in the business community, and then of course stabilizing the community. And that's what this relief grant program could provide. Part of
so
that.
we can leave it at 500,000 now, but maybe a little asterisk that if it's some point we need to reduce funding somewhere, this might be something we could revisit and reduce a little bit. Is that fair?
I don't know on it that I hear what you're saying, Miriam, but I
Yeah.
don't know, because if they release a funding opportunity and they say it's for $500,000 and they receive all of the, enough proposals to fund that amount of funding, which I would guess that we would have that many applicants and there might be that much need. I don't know that there would be a way to scale back.
Okay. Well, we'll put.
And I
we'll-
don't
we'll
believe
leave
that there's other funding sources, just to
other
be clear.
funds to be, okay, so we'll leave it as it is for now. And I guess in the back of our minds, we'll, wonder if this is something, if we need to revisit. I think we can all agree on the IT stuff. Yes, IT stuff goes forward. The EOC improvements, also it's a small amount, but I'm unless anyone has any objections, I really want this one to move forward. There are actually 3 other health proposals that we're going to get to that I'm going to really argue, push for us to move forward, but the EOC stuff for sure. And then I'm just going to keep going unless anyone raises their hands or objects.
Is that the
IT,
$45,000?
cybersecurity. What, Arthur?
Is that the $45,000?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you. IT, cybersecurity, we're going to definitely advance that. I think everyone agrees cybersecurity is a huge issue. In terms of the Brookline broadband expansion, John, I think the 40,000 was your part of that, right?
That was me.
Oh, that was you, Jenny. Yeah, I agree with you. So there you go. Oh yeah, because my ex is there.
Jenny, do you mind if I ask for just a little bit of explanation of that? I mean, a proposal that starts out at, 7 million and 40,000, which frankly, I just don't think we're ready for, and I wasn't in favor of it, but I'm not clear what we're going to do with the 40,000.
This was the feasibility study part. The feasibility is just basically the actual study. I have a question now because of 21-29.
Yeah.
How does this relate to 21-29? I hadn't thought of this previously. That's the answer though, John, to your question.
Yeah.
It's funding a study.
So 21-29 was submitted by the IT department. Who submitted 22-8? Brookline Broadband.
Yeah.
Who
See,
is that?
I that's why I just don't think we're ready for any part of the 7,040,000.
Tyler and Melissa, who is Brookline Broadband?
I don't know exactly what the organization was, but they did give a presentation to the select board a few months ago
It's a group of
That's-
residents. It's not a form, it's
Okay.
not a, I think it's a group of residents who are interested in having broadband extended to the community.
Got it.
The fiber project at IT is essentially to provide redundancy so that we are no longer relying on RCN for our fiber. It will position us longer term to, be able to control costs and potentially, I know the goal is to be able to hop on to a spot that will give us access to the hub, which is currently in South Boston, and then that would allow us to not have to rely on RCN for our fiber.
Okay, so
So
Jenny,
they're
are you
pretty
okay
different.
if we take 22.8 out altogether?
I would still prefer to, based upon that explanation, thank you so much, Melissa, that was really helpful. I would still put in the $40,000 to
40,000
fund the
for the
study.
feasibility study.
And the
Okay.
reason there's that major discrepancy is because if we fund the study and we have some findings, then there's this, do the actual expansion. And I don't know, those estimated costs, I think, are obviously extremely high. So they would have to be revisited.
All right.
And wouldn't this
So-
also support, because I think broadband is in the infrastructure bill. So wouldn't this also help like this become shovel ready?
Well, I was going to say, I think it could definitely position the town for that funding. So I also think it would be helpful for that reason. And it gets back to vulnerable populations and other public housing and other needs.
Okay.
And that is actually outlined in the application in case anybody does get a chance to read that one.
Well, that is very helpful. Thank you. I'm fine keeping the 40,000. How does everybody else feel?
Could I just
Sure.
make one?
Go ahead.
I just want to make one more comment before we impose a study on we'd likely be run out of a town department. It's probably good to have a conversation with the department head to understand how that impacts their work plan, given the strained resources that we currently have.
That was my only lingering question, which I think I may or may not have mentioned this last Friday, but I too wasn't sure really what Brookline broadband was, and I would guess that it would be assigned to IT, but I'm not in a position of assigning anything to anybody. So somebody would have to figure out where this lives in order to make it happen. Can't happen as a volunteer activity, I don't think.
Melissa, do you want me to email Thing?
Yeah, I think, we've got a follow up with Ben and a follow up with Fung. So, I'll make sure that on Monday I'll reach out to them and just talk through those projects. And if any others come up, we'll add that to the list.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, if I may just reinforce that I just do not think that this is ready for there to be $40,000 appropriated. It hasn't been developed to the extent that there's been an opportunity for people at town hall to even weigh in on whether they think this would be a useful study to do. It's essentially just some folks who are advocates for developing a very expensive broadband system in Brookline to get it going by getting money for themselves to do a feasibility study, but we don't know if the town wants to go in that direction. And I don't just mean town hall, I mean the town's people.
Well, Brian and Arthur, what do you guys think?
I say put the 40,000 in. I
Brian?
mean,
Yeah, go ahead, Arthur.
it's not going to break the bank. I mean,
It's okay.
I mean, go ahead, Brian.
I'm looking at their proposal right now. I didn't have a chance to look at this one. And the 40K does a market analysis to see what is and is not possible. And their next step would be going to town meeting with something. So I feel like this is an okay first step, but I do agree that I'm a little weary of what this might lead to. But 40K, I think, is okay.
So let's leave it in, and then, once we talk to Fang, we can always pull it out if we need to. All right, public art.
Okay, this one is a 3-year funding for $75,000 each year to basically work between planning and community development, and various arts and cultural organizations to support the addition of public art and activations, if you will, in the commercial areas. So through various installations and creating more of an experience in those commercial districts. This, as well as a couple of other things, I just wanted to note, as I did last week, come from the Rapid Recovery Plan that the town commissioned. And I just think, again, it's really important. It's a great plan with really important recommendations for the town's economic recovery. And this was one of those recommendations to implement, and I'm very supportive.
Does this group work with the Brookline Commission for the Arts or something like that?
That's one of the local organizations, yes.
That's included in this?
Not in the proposal. I don't see them specifically in the proposal. It's local arts and cultural organizations.
Well,
I think this is different than their 40,000 request.
Yeah,
'Cause this is from planning.
that's a different request.
but is it the same group?
Well, Arthur,
So
the
this
group,
group,
the group is our planning and community.
Yeah, this is from the
development department.
town. This is a town.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right. That, in other words, they could work in consultation with the commission, was what I was saying, but
Yeah.
it would not be limited to that. It's many organizations, and it's led by planning and community development.
Well, the dog stopped barking anyway. I'm fine moving this forward. How does everybody else feel?
I agree.
All right. We got 3. So Rec, so I don't know how this only has 1 tally. Tyler, how did this end up? This,
I think it was, I think the 3 were coming from the select board. So
okay. All right.
Oh,
we changed that formula. So that's why you're seeing some.
And I'll say I'm not married to this one. I think I like that it's a shared bus between the senior center, ODIC. But you know, if there are other priorities, I'm not married to this one. So we can move it down. And then start talking about some of the other.
personally, I think we should move it down.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Is that $600,000?
Yeah, also because it's a lot, because they're hybrid buses.
It's a lot, and there's a lot of questions, but I won't get into
Yeah.
that yet.
No, I think that's fine.
Can we put this on hold? Can we put
Yes,
this?
I think yes, Arthur, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we're actually doing pretty good in terms of amount. So we're at 10 million, sorry, right?
Right.
Can we go look at the buckets real quick?
Yes, we can. Let's
Thank
see.
you. Look at that. So we have, and I think we know we're not going to get near our technology infrastructure. So we still have about 4 million to look at for vulnerable populations, another $1 million for economic recovery, 3 million for government ops and capital, and $1 million for technology infrastructure. All right. How's everybody doing with this? All right.
Looking
So
good.
yeah, I think we're actually doing okay. All right, can we go back, Tyler?
Yep. All right.
Well, here's what I recommend as we go down to the next group. If you want to scroll down, there are a few kind of small ones. I think we can all just say, yes, move to the top, like the upgrade. Oh, go back. You went too
Oh.
far. Like the upgrade public use desktop computers to Chromebooks for the library. So I'm going to go through the really small, anything less than 50,000, and we'll just say thumbs up or thumbs down real quick. Is that okay? So library upgrade public use desktop computers, thumbs up, thumbs down,
Yes.
give me your thumbs, or just say yes or no. If I hear a no, I'll wanna, yes. Okay, let's move that up.
Right.
So just one question, please,
Yeah.
sorry. Who is going to be responsible for that? The library?
The library. These are proposals from the library.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes.
I thought that was from a resident.
No, these are from the library.
Okay.
If
All
it
right.
comes from a resident, I'll specify public submission here. In this case, I should have done that for them, but I didn't realize. But we'll see.
Yeah. So another library one, public use laptops for checkout to Chromebooks. I'm a thumbs up on this. Basically, I think any of this small stuff from the library has big impact. All right, I'm seeing thumbs up. Brian, I don't see your thumbs up. All right, let's move that one up.
I'm gonna just wait until we.
Oh,
kind of-
yeah, okay. This one I was a little bit, it's not a lot of money, but the solar powered charging stations for outdoor Wi-Fi and seating areas, everybody's good with that? It's 10,000. It'd be okay if you're not good with that. I feel like it's maybe a little. But where's everybody? Thumbs up, thumbs down,
Thumbs up.
thumbs
Yeah,
up.
It's
All
such a
right.
small amount, okay?
Yeah, it is such a small amount. I agree. All right, we're just going through the really small amount stuff.
Yeah. We'll probably do some-
Hybrid vehicle for EM staff. So this is where, Melissa, we need you to tell us how many vehicles should we?
So this is
I
not
definitely want the
replacing,
Say that again?
this is not replacing a vehicle. This is expanding the fleet. This is a new position that was previously funded with a grant that we've rolled into the general fund over the past couple of years. And this is a request to provide a vehicle to the staff person.
And where do you fall on that? Is this something we should?
I think we need to address the existing fleet needs and the
Okay.
degradation of our fleet before we start adding to our fleet.
I think
Good,
that's a
right,
very
good.
important, thank you, very helpful. So we're gonna say no to that. Keep scrolling down. I do want to highlight 2253, even though that's less than, so we're gonna come back to that because I want to, but keep going. We're just looking for low value stuff that we can easily, the furnishing supplies for the library, PPE cleaning supplies for the library. These are all tiny amounts. Everybody's okay with
Wait a minute,
this?
they don't have that in they don't have that in their regular budget?
I was
think
gonna
they're-
say, some of this stuff may have been funded through round two CARES continuation. So
Oh.
we just want,
No.
we should just clarify. Tyler, are you saying no?
No, because everything that she requested, we funded, so these are separate from that.
Okay, just wanted to make sure there was no redundancy. Okay. But if it's PPE, we should put that on the list for CARES continuation part 3. Because there shouldn't be any need for a department to be requesting PPE. We should be able to cover that within the existing contingency in the health department, or go for a third round of CARES continuation.
All right, so
Absolutely.
which one of these, Melissa, should we not be funding and which one should we?
I think if we gotta make sure 2119 is okay. I think that one we can address internally, 2119.
Public printing, sir. So 2218 will move up, 22 public printing, okay with everybody? I'm a
So
big
I
fan
can
of-
give you the story behind the public printing is for the library, they have copier services, and without people in the building to use the services, they were still, the fees for services were supposed to cover the costs of the copiers. So without people in the building using the services, the revolving fund needed support in order to pay for the copier leases. That's what that request is related to.
Okay, so we should fund that.
It's almost like a revenue replacement, right?
Yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
sounds like. Okay. Okay, any other low value stuff?
What about, hold on, that 14,000? What was,
Yes, we're gonna do that. That's the public printing service.
okay,
Tyler's gonna
Um,
move that up.
Yeah, Tyler will move that.
I'm trying to do
Temporarily
these-
addressed department, what is this,
40,000.
40,000 for the fire department? I was in favor of supporting this. I know that the fire department is working on, some.
Oh, no, but that got funded, I thought.
Oh, did it?
Yes, I mean, that was one that I had.
Oh,
Isn't that the diversity training?
yes.
That got funded.
Oh, great.
I
So then we
recommended
don't
that
need to fund it.
that get funded.
So we'll leave it. So, let's double check that.
I'm positive, 100.
You're positive. Okay,
Yes.
great.
move it up.
The replacement vehicle for the public health nurse, 2255. This is a replacement vehicle. I think we talked about this. This is a 2003 Honda that I can't believe is still in the fleet. So I'm going to give a big thumbs up to this. Can we replace this vehicle for the public health nurse? Other thumbs? Yes or no? I need thumbs.
Well, I didn't know
Can we
whether
get
Melissa had anything
DeSoto's
to
or-
say about that.
Oh,
I think-
that's one that was in the budget pre-COVID, and then we had to reduce. So I would support replacing it.
All right.
Miriam, I'm worried there may have been a misunderstanding on that fire department item. I
Yeah.
think I heard Arthur say that he expects it to be moved up, which is how I
No,
understand.
Arthur said he's sure it was funded already.
But then I heard him say, so move it up. So,
No, okay, I mean that I had that in my original list to be funded.
But it has been funded,
It has been.
so we don't need to fund it.
I still think there might be confusion. Arthur, are you saying it's been funded in the departmental budget that was approved? Or
No,
are you
I'm-
saying it's been funded and you would like to see it move up?
No, I'm saying that in the list that I had of programs to be funded, the fire department diversity training was in that category, in my group that was asked to be funded.
So should it get ARPA money or not?
Yes,
Wait,
That's my,
$40,000.
so
That's
you
my
want it,
point.
yes, you want it to get funding from us.
Yes,
Okay, got it. Thank you, John. And
Yeah, you're
Brian,
welcome.
thank you. Brian has brought to my attention that Aaron's hand is up in the audience. Let's finish going through the small numbers first, and then we'll call on Aaron. Is that it, Tyler? Can you scroll down? Any other small numbers?
We have this relatively small, but for software for health.
Software and
then-
hardware for health. Yes, can I just say, from the public health lens, they need this software to do the data work. The stuff they're using now is woefully inadequate. And this is directly COVID related, frankly, to do the data analysis. So I'm going to give a thumbs up to the health one, software and hardware. Thumbs up.
I guess my only question on that was, it just to be sure that it's not
Yeah.
already being funded in their budget.
It isn't. I sat with Segal, and in fact, there was they were asking for two different stats programs. We reduced it to one stats program. It's not already in their budget. I did go over that with her. And also it includes some translational services. Just
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised I didn't already endorse that one, but anyway.
Well, yeah, great. Erin has taken her hand down. Got it. Thank you, Erin. The Brookline Commission for the Arts. I guess I'm not, like, I love arts and I love concerts, but I'm just not in love with spending money on this right now, but I don't know how everybody else feels.
I voted for it and Arthur voted for it. And
right.
I think it helps to think of this in terms of revitalization of commercial areas combined
I
with
think it's fair.
support,
Yeah, I think
combined
it's
with
small enough.
support for people in the arts community.
All right.
I'm
Everybody
going to-
else, Brian and Jenny, go ahead, Arthur.
I'm
like to be added.
looking at this totally differently. You know, people have been cooped up in their homes, okay, for umpteen months. And having this as an opportunity for people to come outside, okay, and enjoy the fresh air, and, you know, just get some socialization. And I think that that's a very valuable, you know, piece for this community. It's a very valuable service to this community.
All right, moving
And
on
it's
up.
And it's
Oh.
only, we're talking $39,000.
All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually pull out the schools, because I think we need to have the schools up there in some capacity, whatever that ends up being. I don't know, but
With me here.
yeah, what do you guys want to do? I feel like at this point, we should just put the schools up there, and then that's something we're going to discuss further on Monday and next Friday. Is everybody okay with that? Because otherwise,
Mary,
we'll eat up all our
what-
time. Yeah,
Would
John.
it be possible to deal with the Brookline Interactive Group item
Yes.
before we do that?
Before we do the schools, I mean, I'm just saying we should move the three school ones as they are now up. And then we can table the discussion on them
Hold on.
after, you know, for Monday and for next Friday. And then if you want, we can go to the Brookline Interactive one next.
So
Yeah,
can we
whatever you
just see
think.
the totals
Yeah,
real quick? Before the schools and then after the schools?
Yep. So here we are at 10.4 million. Let me go and pull
Can you go
that
to the
those
right
were
as well,
such
please?
small numbers, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think those numbers are going to do much to the bucket. So
Didn't move the needles. Okay.
let's
Okay.
put the schools in and see what happens.
Hey, Tyler, I feel like I saw two different totals. One was 10.4 and the other was 10.7 when you moved over to the buckets.
Oh yeah, I'll have to fix that. I think the way I'm doing this right now, it's screwing it up, but I will address that. Just look at the bottom of R. That's going to be the one you should trust.
Okay.
I'll have to look at that. Okay. And let me get the other school really quick.
I'm glad
Okay.
you're doing this and not me.
I know, right? Okay, so now we're at 14 million essentially.
Make sure there's nothing else I missed. All right. Yeah.
So,
I thought I saw 2 yellow highlights down below. Just if you scroll just one more time.
I think he just moved them up.
You must have grabbed them. Okay,
Yeah. The
Yeah.
screen's
sorry.
just moving fast.
all right,
Tyler moves fast.
before we
I have a
move the
lot of
Brookline
copies.
Interactive, there are 2 health ones I want us to because it's health, I think it's also where so the community health assessment and health improvement plan, basically Sigal needs this to help her really discern what it is they actually need going forward. So this is something as a department head that she's really needs to help her with her ongoing and future planning, especially as a new department head in terms of community needs. So I would really like us to move this up. And I want to see if there are any objections or if there's any conversation around that.
I'll start the conversation just
Yeah.
by saying this. Excuse me, Miriam, I'm trusting you and Sigal on this, that we're not using ARPA monies to create new positions that then are going to have to be funded after the ARPA money runs out.
So there is one, and this is the one we talked about, which is the Emergency Operations Coordinator. And that's the next one I was going to talk about. That's not what this is. This is a health assessment and health improvement plan. So this doesn't create a position. The other one that I want to talk about is the Emergency Operations Coordinator. It's a 4-year position, and I do think we need an Emergency Operations Coordinator. I do think it is really relevant to our COVID planning and response. And it is the only single one position that I would support us funding. And Sigal and I talked a lot about it. So
Now, when you say it's a 4-year position, does that mean it phases out after 4 years?
it would, one of 2 things will happen. It will phase out after 4 years, or Sigal will find grant funding to support it, but it won't go into the capital operating budget.
How do we bake that in so that doesn't get forgotten 4 years from now?
I think we can write that in the proposal, we can clarify that.
Okay.
So with that, so is everyone okay if we move those 2 up? I think they're very ARPA funded related.
What was the other health one you said? Sorry, the
The
emergency.
Emergency Operations Coordinator and it's not, don't believe what the project summary is, because basically I said we're not going to fund that. Instead, we're going to, we changed the whole thing. The 3.1, I said, no, what do you really need? And that's what she said.
I had already put a note in there saying what that was for. I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
So,
all
Miriam,
right.
I guess
Yes, go ahead,
just
Brian.
on this topic and the topic of positions, I mean, I said this
Yeah.
last time, and now we put a bunch of school money up there, so we're kind of going back on it a little bit, but we have to have this conversation about positions with the select board on Monday. And I
Yeah.
think, we can do it then. And obviously, if you feel very strongly, I respect your decision. You know what you're doing here. So, but I do have a philosophical issue with this stuff.
I don't actually disagree with you, but I think, again, I think because this is really COVID related, we need somebody who understands this specifically And I think frankly, we did a real disservice to the town by not having somebody in this position prior to now.
Yeah, I guess my comments were more directed towards what we're going to do around the schools more than.
Oh, yeah,
POC
that's a
personally.
whole other conversation. I agree with you. Okay.
Yes, it is.
So keeping in mind that it's 3:24. So here's the question, who can stay on for a little longer? Because I really want to do announcements and public comment. I can stay. Jenny says she can stay. Brian can stay.
I can stay.
Arthur, can you stay?
Yes, yes, I can. Yes.
And Melissa and
Provided you give me
Tyler?
two.
Yes, you can do, but okay, great. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm doing announcements quickly, and then I'm going to open to public comment quickly, and then we'll come back to working on the rest of this slate. How's that sound to everybody? Great. And what I think is, because we still have quite a few things to get through, what I would say is maybe we do a round robin and we have each of us highlight our top like 1 or 2 things we still want to see on the slate and just discuss those and move them up. How does that sound to everybody? All right, great. Okay, so quickly, announcements. As you all know, I hope at this point, there's going to be a joint select board ARPA review committee public hearing on Monday from 7 to 9 p.m. So that you all know, it's going to be 90 seconds. You will have 90 seconds to speak per unique name. You can either speak for 90 seconds or you can send an email. Please specify that, yeah, thank you, Mel. Please specify that you want your email read into the public hearing. You can speak as an individual representing an organization, both. You can speak on one proposal or more as long as it's within your 90 seconds. No PowerPoints, no presentations, no ceding your time to somebody else. Everybody gets 90 seconds, that's it. We're not messing with the list. So if you want to sign up in a special, like if there's 3 of you and you want to speak back to back, then I suggest one email to Tyler with all 3 names, and then you'll be signed up in that order, 1, 2, and 3. But otherwise, we're not messing around with the list and who's speaking in what order. You get signed up in the order you register. Yes, Tyler.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Send
yeah.
it to the ARPA review at brooklinemass.mad.gov.
And we'll put that in the
there.
chat. And that was exactly my next point, which is email ARPA. Do not email Tyler personally. Email the ARPA review.
Tyler, give out your cell phone number. Okay, we'll call you.
Yeah. And your home address, please.
There it is. And again, to please specify if you want your email read into the public comment. Quickly, what's next for this committee? I just want the committee to know and for you to know that after this, one of the things Melissa, Mel, John, and I need to do is determine operating costs that need to be earmarked for ARPA funds. So some money does need to be earmarked for us to kind of run this whole system. And then once we figure out what that is, we'll know what funds we have left to spend for phase 2. This committee, I would like us to have a couple of meetings about debriefing what worked, what didn't work, what we can do better next time. I also want to make sure we have public input into that. And then we'll set up a timeline for phase 2. So there you go. Review calendar, public hearing on Monday. Our committee will have our final discussion slate for next Friday. And then on April 19th, hopefully the select board will vote. All right, I'm going to open up for public comment. Please raise your hand or indicate in the chat somehow that you would like to speak. And I know Deborah Brown already indicated she would like to speak, so we'll start with her.
All right, sounds good. All right. Deborah, you are up. The floor is yours.
All righty. The town of Brookline got $10 million off the top. If the town needs vehicles, other capital expenses, then they should use the traditional methods. We have the CIP, we have an operating budget. It should not be done on the backs of poor people. You know, no one's asking how many disadvantaged people are dying of hunger and dilapidated housing. How many lives are going unfulfilled? That is what the ARPA money is intended to do. Would you believe there are no meaningful funds to begin repairs at High Street? 0. ARPA funds will be used to improve some housing, but not enough. $4 million is disrespectful to the people who bore the burden of COVID. So I would request that you fully fund BHA. Health Department needs their money. Chamber of Commerce needs their money. Libraries and school counselors. And I want to say, in a cruel twist of, I didn't say fate, I said shame. When I looked at the rec department's request, they're seeking money for counselors and vehicles. Now, this is a program that is not, that doesn't help low-income kids. I look at the school's request again. Where is the request to help the children? I'm almost done. So, $10 million in lost income, a myriad of programs that are not going to help people disproportionately impacted. We have to do better. And I swear to you, if you look at the programs that you are funding now and look at them through an economic and racial lens, shame. You will be ashamed. Thank you.
So thank you, Deborah. I'm going to ask you please for those comments to come to us on Monday at the public hearing. And what I'm going to do now is also ask anybody who's planning to speak. Now is not the time for advocating for certain proposals. We need you to do that Monday at the public hearing, also with the select board present. So what the public comments now, I hope, are clarifying questions. Please don't be advocating for individual proposals right now. Again, please email us or come to the public hearing on Monday. Tyler, do you want me to call on who's next, or do you want to do it?
Next, I see Leslie's hand, but let's, should we take Leslie? I think we have public as well. I'll defer to you.
Yeah, I would elevate the public first, please.
Okay, so the order is David Rockwell. All right, the floor is yours.
You can hear me okay?
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify this question about how the match works for the Boston Housing Authority funding, whether 4 brings 10 equaling 14 or 4 only brings 6 equaling 10. Can somebody explain that?
Melissa, do you want to?
I believe it's 4 brings 10, but I would need to confirm with Mel because he's the one who had the conversation with the housing authority.
Okay. Well, you all said that therefore it's 10 when you talked about this minimum, which I hope you will go over, but we really need to be clear whether 4 means 14 or 4 means 10. That's all.
So actually, yeah, so it's a 2.5 match. So for every dollar we give, they match 2.5. So they will match up to 10 million. So 4 means 14.
Okay.
But
thank you.
To be double, it's a very good question, and to be doubly sure, we'll check with Mel again. Melissa, is that on your list?
Okay.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Thank
you. All right.
Oh, sorry. Next on the list is Juan. Promoted you to speak. Floor is yours.
Thank you. So just wanted to get some clarification on the steps to success applications. Not going to advocate, just clarifying. So for the $1.4 million request, that was for work with K-2 and high school support. Then we have another request in collaboration with the Community Foundation to expand our College Success Initiative and to provide scholarships to our students. Steps to Success provides support to low-income students, a lot of which are Black and brown, but we don't support every Black and brown student. I know there was a comment about failing certain communities, but we only do. So thank you.
Who's next?
Somebody's running water, no?
Yes.
Okay, that was John. I muted him. Okay. Next up is Naomi. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Naomi Schweitzer, town meeting member, precinct 10. Thank you to the committee for all of your work. Once again, Brookline volunteerism and amazing staff going to it. I have two questions, comments. One is, when will the spreadsheet that you all have been working off of be posted so that myself and others can plan around our weekend and Monday to be able to formulate our public comments appropriately based on what's actually on the sheet? So that's one question. And two, I'm wondering if the information about the public hearing was specifically passed on to all of the people that participated in the Brookline Community Foundation focus groups. I think that was the first time that we had that level of community engagement, and we had a lot of people participate in that process that we haven't seen before, particularly some of our lower income residents, more vulnerable residents, and people of color. And I think many of them may not know about the public hearing through the channels that I'm on. I'm not aware that they got any special notification, and I'm wondering if some special outreach could be done this afternoon and Monday morning to make sure that they are aware that this is happening. Thank you.
It hasn't, and that is a great idea. So we will see what we can do. Thank you, Naomi. I'm assuming we can email Giselle, yeah, and ask her to blast it out to. Is that possible? Sorry, Tyler, I cut you off.
Oh, no, sorry. That's okay. I'm assuming Melissa, you've worked more with Giselle than I have. So
yeah, we can reach out to the BCF and make sure that they're aware. I mean, I would think they would be already. But I can absolutely make sure that they, you know, if they have a listserv that they use to, you know, promote things, I'm sure that we can ask them to add this to their list.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
And I was
yeah, you mean my Facebook postings haven't been enough?
I was just
thank
going to add
you.
to the spreadsheet question. I'm going to try to have that posted today. I want to make sure there is adequate time for everyone to react to this so that they can formulate their comments for Monday. So I'm going to post the Arpa website where this will be published. Just check for this later tonight, and if not, tomorrow morning. So,
great. Thank you.
Next up, I apologize, I'm going to butcher your name. Edeniyi. The floor is yours.
Just say Ade. Just say Ade.
It's Ade or Adeni if you want to say it right.
And
right.
Naomi, your hand
right.
is still up. Thank you. Go ahead, Adi.
Okay. Just first to follow up with Naomi's question, because we were part of the focus group from the low income. We were actually the largest group, the Black and Brown Club, at that BCF meeting. And which I believe Arthur was aware. So we didn't know this was coming. It'd be good to let us know so we could be more involved when it comes to this Apple process. But my question is, so far, I don't know if this is the first or the second round, how a proposal from the Black and Brown Club, the community, with over 50 members from the low income community, we Black, and proposal never made it before this community, before this committee. And we met with John, knowing that we have over 200 signature of support from Black and Brown people. We are speaking for ourselves. These ARPA funds was marked to help people affected by COVID, which is Black and Brown community. Like Deborah said, if you look at some of these things that I just listened to for the last 1 hour through Black Man's Lens, it's beyond disappointing. But at this point in Brookline, we expect it. Because every time we say something, it's like our opinions don't matter. Oh, nobody's listening to us. We have over 50 residents from the low income Black and Brown members as part of this organization, with over 200 signatures of support for those proposals submitted. So I'm just wondering how they never made this, never made the list I just saw today. Thank you.
Thank you, Adi, for your comments. So this was, first, to answer your first question, this is phase one. There'll be a second phase of funding. And we did review your proposal, and we have spent some time discussing it, Arthur and I specifically, and we are looking for creative ways to help support it. But there are some reporting, there's some, there are requirements by the federal government that have to be met that are a little problematic. So we're trying to figure out how to work around those. I guess that's the best way I can say them. So it's not being discussed right now as part of the primary slate, but it's not out of discussions. Arthur, I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, not really. I actually owe Ade, I don't know, but I'll try and contact him, okay, separate from here.
That would be great. And it may be, Adi, that we ask you to resubmit in phase two once we figure out the workarounds. So just keep that in mind. And and I will say, I think that is important for everyone to consider. I'm not making excuses, or, I hear what everyone is saying. I think that, we still have to dispense of this money within the guidelines that the federal and state government has given us. And so we can't do everything we want to do the way we want to do it. There are some back end constraints that we have to keep in mind. And so that is part of the struggle also. So just to say that, but I appreciate all your public comments. I really encourage you to come to the public hearing on Monday. And at the same time, I want you all to know we are doing the best that we can do with what we have. So everyone here is thinking about the impacts, even if we don't all agree on how to get there.
Leslie says, Leslie says.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again so much for going through this process. We all really appreciate all the work you're putting in. We know this is quite cumbersome to take on. I just wanted to address a couple of questions I heard come up about specifically the health department proposals. So I did just want to mention in one of the larger proposal that Miriam and Segal have worked together to kind of whittle down, there are some other programmatic things in that initial proposal as well.
Hey, Leslie, I'm going to stop you because we don't want to talk about individual proposals.
No, this was just for the sake of, I'm not getting into the individual, just answer John's question about the staffing. So the health department is fully operational with the capacity to work under grant funds. It's something we recently, this last year, wrote another grant for positions to be funded for 2 years, and we know those positions go away. It's something that happens all the time in public health. So just to answer that question, we're fully able to take on new positions without expecting the town to have to take on those positions later on. So I just wanted to clear that up a little bit.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, are we ready to go do our little round robin?
I think so.
All right, who wants to start?
This pulled back.
Can we go back to the list and see the buckets to kind of have a sense of where we should be directionally moving?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good
And
call.
Miriam, remind me what the decision was as to how soon we can discuss BIG.
Oh, well, you know what? Let's just do it now. And then we'll do our round robin, or you can start with your two top line items. Is BIG one of them, John?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Let's start with John then.
Thank you. So BIG, I have recommended for $900,000, which I'm sure it sounds like a lot. On the other hand, if you look at what their ask was, it's a fraction of their ask. And what I want to emphasize is that this money is not only very, very much needed for us to continue to have a BIG that sort of is up to the expectations that the community has developed over the years in terms of the delivery of community programming, excuse me, and municipal programming. But it is also in keeping with BIG basically having a future beyond the next 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. They're in the face of a overall decline in cable revenues that is going to impact their budgets in the years to come. And what has happened through town meeting is that people at town meeting have expressed their concern that BIG remain a vital part of the way that Brookline communicates with itself, the way that people communicate to one another, and the way town hall communicates to the public. And in order for them to still be a presence in Brookline and to address the concerns of town meeting on this subject, they need this 900,000. They need more than this 900,000, but I think 900,000 will help them to have a future beyond just this year, next year, and the year after that.
Well, I have to say, John, I actually agree. Look at that. Somebody mark their calendar.
Shocking.
How does everybody else feel about BIG, supporting BIG?
Critical
Brian's got a
community
thumb up.
resource.
Yes, huge community resource.
Critical
Melissa asked a great question. So, but BIG, to me, I think Melissa asked in the chat, is this supporting staff? And I think because it's not, BIG is not a town department, right? Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah, I'm just raising it as the same concern that we would have that after the funding period is over, there's nothing to sustain it.
But I think because it's, I guess I didn't apply, and maybe this is worth discussing now. I don't apply that same rule to the community organizations because frankly, it becomes their problem. Whereas if it's the town budget we're adding to, it's my problem. It's our problem. So I figure that's for them to solve for. If they, you know, so I think that's how I feel about it. I don't know how everybody else feels about it.
I would agree with that. And I think that in order for them to be sustaining, they need to do this work now, and that might lead to some sustaining funds. So that would be my perspective. They're a nonprofit organization and they need assistance in order to recover from the pandemic. And to, you know, be able to do that, I think that could open up other doors for funding. I don't think it's the same as the other discussion that we were having about town staff.
Yeah, right. All right, I'm gonna show me your thumbs up. 900,000 for BIG. We got it. All right, let's move that up. Thank you. John, do you have another one that you want us to discuss? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next.
I'm ready to discuss schools, but you know, when everyone else is ready.
I think we're gonna actually leave schools till Monday.
All right, then.
Okay, so then we'll move on to any other, so everything else down there, if it doesn't get moved up, we'll go on to everybody else. We can circle back to you again at the end, John. Who wants to go next? Brian's got his hand up. Go for it, Brian.
Thank you, Miriam. Let me pitch the $1.4 million for a Davis Path Footbridge study, 21-36. This is a project that is all about connecting different parts of our community that oftentimes are not connected. Specifically, getting access to parks, getting access to the old Lincoln School, which if and when Pierce gets done finally ever, that's going to be very important. And it's also about making that accessible to everybody to persons with disabilities. It's not building, but if once the study is done, the project will become eligible to move forward through the process to get funded other ways through the Boston MPO or through a bunch of other processes. So without this initial first step, it really can't move. I also note that we're about 3 million short in government services, and this goes a long way helping us meet that need.
I was surprised this didn't come up before now. So how does everybody else feel about it?
If we can afford it, we should do it. I'm actually looking now at that steps to success item that's still unfunded on our list. And, you know, I'd love to get back to that at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm also we have to meet the bucket requirements as well. So
generally, but I actually think that, that I think we can always move this up and again, revisit if we have to, if we get stuck.
Okay.
How does everybody feel about that?
I want to say to Brian too, that if he had to choose between the Davis Path footbridge and the St. Paul Street, does he have a preference?
Oh, it's a good
'Cause I thought that St. Paul Street was very
St. Paul
important.
Street's- It's wonderful. It's great. I mean, it's very expensive.
Very expensive. Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know if we can
a
afford it.
million. Yeah.
I mean, if we had all the money in the world, John, absolutely. But
Okay.
I think the Davis Path leverages additional state and federal money. And that's why I think I'd rather move it forward. I think it's more likely to
You
get,
mean
to get
Dick?
all the way through.
Yeah. Does anyone have any objections if we move the Davis Footpath Bridge design and construction for 1.4 million up into the,
But they got funded.
Arthur, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, so I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just mute yourself. I don't know who else you're talking to. You can mute yourself, but all right, I'm hearing no objections. So we'll move that up and then, we'll keep in, again, like the other thing, we'll keep in the back of our minds that that's something, if we have to, we could give. So do we want to talk about Brian, do you have something else or can we turn it over to Jenny to see?
Well, I
what-
guess just to roll the dice, I would also strongly advocate for the stormwater master plan.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Yeah.
Stormwater is one of the wastewater and water treatment's one of those things that nobody thinks about until you don't have it. And I think we saw during the pandemic, the power that it can have, especially with some of the scientific tests were carried out, so as climate change ravishes the world, storms are only going to get worse. And again, this is a master plan study that will allow the town to leverage additional MWRA and state bond bill dollars in the future. But if we don't do the study, we can't get to that point. So this
So I
is
hate
really
to ask
teeing
you,
us
if you had to choose between this and Davis Path, which would you choose?
up. I mean, I love both my children, Marion.
Which one do you love more?
Well, to be very selfish, Davis Path, I guess, because I miss it.
All right, so let's hold on this a second. We see what Jenny has to say. Go ahead, Jenny.
Good question. There are funding sources to do the stormwater improvements and develop green infrastructure strategic plans through the municipal vulnerability preparedness funding source, both for planning and for the actual funding of improvements. I know it's not this amount total, but at least it would begin funding, and that funding resource is open right now. I just be curious. I definitely think that this one is very important, but I'm just sort of curious about the town's pursuit of that funding source because it is available right now, and actually the deadline's coming up soon.
Is
And it would
Aaron
definitely
still
cover
in
this
the-
particular activity.
It doesn't look like Aaron is still in the waiting room. Can we circle back?
I'll add it to my list.
Yeah, great. All right. So let's leave it off for now and see if we can get an answer. Thank you, Jenny. Is that okay with you, Brian? Okay, great. All right, Jenny, what do you want to see move up?
Well, the first one I want to see move up is that, I spent a lot of time talking about, and I'm still very supportive of a higher amount for the housing authority, put that out there, but that is preserving housing. I'm also interested in creating housing, and I'm actually disappointed that we haven't gotten to any funding for creating new affordable housing. And so I want to go back to proposal 2125, which was funding the local share of 108 Center Street and Kent Street affordable housing. And my recommendation was for 3.375 million. I think that this is really important. Again, it preserves the housing trust funds. It also leverages money and supports a project that is in progress for senior affordable rental housing. I'm
What
a
is
member
it
of
again?
HAB.
Sorry, 2125. There it is.
25,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
Member of HAB. HAB supports this.
Yeah.
Would love to see this move forward. We talked about Kent Street affordable housing as being something that we would like to come back to.
Yeah.
And so this is still my recommendation.
Yeah. And
I'm the only one.
No, well, you could put my name next to it too, because actually I think you're right. We really, for all the reasons you stated, I want to see this move up also.
Jenny, can I just ask a quick question about this one? Has the Housing Trust already transferred money to support these projects?
Have they actually made a
From,
transfer?
from the Housing Trust, has that already happened yet, or?
I know that we approved it, but I don't know, you're asking me like the after part.
So I guess I'm a little concerned that if the transfer is already made and then we're reversing it, whether or not that we would run into some issues with the federal guidance in terms of not using it for reserves, and it would almost look like we're replenishing a reserve. So I think I would just want to have a conversation with Joe on you know what's happened already, just to make sure that we're not doing something that is counter to what we can actually fund.
Okay, I don't believe so, but I will say that you could also put funding in the trust. I mean, that isn't eligible activity. I know what you're saying, though. You're saying that it's basically replenishing reserves.
Yeah.
And so there just looks like we're padding it, but that's not, but I believe that is actually okay as well to fund the trust to then make improvements towards the creation of affordable housing. Both activities are okay. However we get there is basically what you're asking. Still, my
Yes.
request would be that we fund that activity.
Miriam,
So-
I have a
Wait.
different concern, if I may.
You have to wait because Brian had his hand up.
Oh, I'm
And-
sorry.
And then
Yeah.
I'll call on you, John. Go ahead,
Okay,
Brian.
thanks.
Technical question, and again, I haven't reviewed this, and if you don't know the answer, don't worry about it. Talk about the cost sharing aspect and how that sort of works, or the town's portion. There's
Well,
in
the
the title,
town, where, sorry, go ahead,
Word.
Brian.
yeah, fund the local share of 108 Center Street. So does this leverage additional dollars? Is the question.
Yes, the total development cost is more than $34 million for 108 Center Street. The town housing trust had put in a subsidy of 3.375. And there's actually now a housing trust balance of $1 million as a result of the funding that the HAB voted to approve for that project. So what this does, that's the share. I guess it's just phrased that way, but it just means basically the cost that the town agreed to provide to leverage all the additional funding for that project to happen.
Great, thank you. John, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a different concern. Where are we on the total that we've committed to at this point?
Wait, before we do that, great, okay.
My point being, if you look at that total, that we're talking about spending pretty much the rest on this one thing, and we haven't even had the discussion of schools yet, so.
But the
Well, the
schools
schools
are
are
up
in the
there. The
total.
schools are included in that total.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
That's what I asked to move the school stuff up there, just so.
Oh, okay. But point remains the same. We're pretty much spending everything that's left in
Yes.
one chunk here. And I
Yes.
think there's reasons to hold off on that just yet. For example, we wouldn't be able to, what would we do about steps to success, for example?
So here's what I suggest. We finish putting everything in the top, and then we revisit one last time the top and see where we can finagle to make it work.
Yeah.
All right.
And
So
the only point is I'm not ready to
with
move
Jenny,
it.
I really think we need, housing was highlighted as an important issue in the Brookline Community Foundation report for us as a guide. And I do think that this is a very good use of money for housing. I'm a big fan. What do Arthur and Brian have to say?
Well, when you heard me speaking 2 minutes ago,
Yeah.
you heard my voice. Okay, Deborah Brown called me. What about the Brookline Improvement Coalition? Is that included in anywhere here?
That's in this middle, that's right there, the big programming, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that that's going to make it to the end slate, though. I'd much rather do the Kent Street affordable housing for the 3.75 or 3 point, whatever it is.
That's
3.375.
Center Street.
Yeah. Where are you, Jenny, on between those two?
I agree that BIC is very important. And I would probably elevate that because of the other issues that I raised related to Kent Street and the cost of the parking
Yeah.
and whether or not that proceeds through town meeting successfully.
Is the 3.375, that's the minimum we would need to do for 21-25, is that?
For 21-25, that covers 108 Center Street.
Yeah.
So BIC is, my proposal, my suggestion for BIC was 625.
Oh, 625 or $1 million. It looks like the $1 million there.
You gave me $1 million. That's what I have
Oh,
down.
right, okay, right, absolutely. That was my second, okay, right. You're right.
Do you want, is 625 acceptable? Because then we can talk about moving both of these up, because I agree, we don't really have anything on housing otherwise.
Well, if I didn't move it up, would that mean that the Kent Street would be?
I think we move Kent Street up no matter what, but we have to hear from Brian. Is that okay with you?
To retain my comments on this particular item.
Say that again.
I'm going to retain my comments on this
You're going to
particular.
abstain. Okay. So then we know John John, you're not in favor of moving it up Kent Street. Is that correct?
Correct.
So my BIC was, 750.
Instead of $1 million.
Yes,
Where do you stand on Kent Street?
fine, fund it.
Fund it. Okay, so let's move Kent Street up. Then we can talk about
But
BIC.
it's not Kent Street. It's Center
That's
Street.
Center
Center
Street.
Street.
It's okay. I knew what you meant.
Thank you.
And
Kent,
keep the,
Kent Street would be second if we come back to that.
and keep the 750 for the improvement.
For BIC.
goal. Right?
Right,
Okay.
right.
Well, we're
I still
already,
have one more, right? Do I
Wait,
still
wait,
get my
wait.
second one?
Wait, and keep the 750. Is that in the Center Street proposal?
No.
Oh,
No,
so
he's
that's
saying in
separate.
addition to.
In
Yes.
addition to,
we're already
so,
over 20 million. So I want to
Right.
make sure we're
Yeah.
getting the right amounts because I'm hearing different things for different ones. So I just want to, so Center Street, 3.3. Is that what I'm hearing?
3.375, yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna end up over 20 million, and then we're gonna come back up here and edit
Come
up
back.
this final list.
I have one more to advocate for, and I'm going to be super fast. The pop-up program has a little sister, and I would like that to be funded. The little sister is the seasonal pop-up program. I think it was either 22, 18, or 19. I don't remember which one's which, sorry. But I would really like to see that one funded. And then I have one question, which
Yeah.
is what happened with the conversation around the utility rebates? I think it was Mel or maybe Melissa, you were going to I just am curious what happened to that. I obviously had recommended it, and then
Yeah.
somebody was going to look into that.
Yeah, that's a
That
good
was it.
question. Mel was gonna look into whether we could earmark that money for the safety net program. But we don't know, did he do that? We don't know if he did that. Melissa, do you have an answer to that?
I don't have an answer to that one.
And, okay, so we have to put that on our list to follow up on.
Yeah,
Thank
you have to, I think that's really important for you to know for Monday.
Yeah, I agree.
Really quick, really
yeah.
quick. So 2219, because 2218, the other pop-up is already up there. So I just want
So,
to make sure I'm putting it
yeah.
right.
2218.
Okay.
And it sounds like we want 750,000 for BIC to go up there. Is that correct?
Yes.
That was my next question.
So we are going to have to cut some of the things on the upper. Just keep that in mind, people. Because I have a few more too I want to highlight, and John's got his hand up. Go ahead,
That
John.
was it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I do want us, at some point to go back to the steps to success thing, but I also, I'm sorry, Tyler's not where I need to be to comment on this stuff. Tyler, can you move down to the part that we're talking about now in terms of moving stuff up?
Yeah, that's where he is.
We're on the lower one. Sorry,
Okay,
this is-
now you are in the lower one. Okay, fine. On that one, so we did not move up 2219, correct?
2219 for the pop-up is still down here.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
But
That's
Jenny just asked
that's
us-
fine. I thought I saw you moving it up and I
Well,
thought, no,
Jenny, yeah, Jenny just asked us
I
to move
had
it up. so-
said, I had advocated for it, John. I was saying that that's basically the complement to the year-round program.
right. But did we move it up or did we not move it up?
We
'cause I
were
don't-
just about to discuss it.
This is
Okay.
frozen, so this is why it looks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have reasons why I would advocate that we not move that up. But I do think,
Yeah, no, go ahead. This is the time to discuss it. So go ahead. What are your reasons?
well, it's an awful lot of money and there is sort of a different combination of programs that support the commercial sector of the town that I think would be money more effectively spent. And for example, I mean, I think the energy coaches to support businesses in lowering their utility costs over a 3-year period, that's very real. It's very much needed. And then there was one other, oh, you keep moving and I lose sight of
I'm
what's
sorry,
on.
I just was looking at the buckets really quick.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so we still have 20 million or sorry, there's still 950,000 in economic recovery.
In economic recovery, yeah, which is my point. I would like to focus on a couple of the economic recovery things that we haven't yet funded. And so the other one is, I mentioned energy coaches. The other one is, well, I guess it's not an economic recovery proposal. It's a council on aging.
Yeah,
Council
I
on
think
Aging
we need to
proposal.
move that up too. Yeah.
Food security, yeah, for.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, John, sorry, Jenny, but I agree with John on this one. I just think it's a harder sell for me for this particular one. I think that I agree. I think we need to move up the Council on Aging. I think talking about food security, I also want to talk about the farmers market vouchers. And I wrote 2243. Which one is 2243? Oh, the disparity study. I don't know. Actually, I just want to talk about it because I didn't know what Arthur's thoughts were, but
Sorry, I just had to, I just went away for a second. Apologize.
that's okay. But let's first, so I think both John and I are very hesitant to move up the 400,000 for the second pop-up, but where do you, Arthur and Brian, stand on that?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, it's almost one of those, how do we not do this?
Wait, you want to move it up or you don't want to move it up?
I don't want to move it
You
up.
don't want to move it up. Okay.
Which one, sorry, which one are we talking about?
Oh, we're
The
talking about the
disparity?
pop-up village for 400,000.
Okay, sorry. I thought we were doing this disparity study. Sorry,
Oh,
I agree.
okay.
We can leave that one behind.
Okay, great. All
I
right.
understand
So,
everybody's comments and appreciate them. Just want to
no,
say
and I appreciate what you're advocating for, Jenny. Like, we get it.
Melissa, is the disparity study absolutely necessary?
Is it? I'm asking you.
Okay, now I'm asking Melissa.
I think that the disparity study would help the town be able to provide purchasing opportunities for minority and women businesses for sure. It's the first step in what we need to do to get there for townwide procurement.
All right, I'm gonna call you Monday and you're gonna explain it to me once again, okay?
Sure.
I'm perplexed by that. Why we need a special investigation or research because people of color, to have people of color become vendors.
We can't create a program without demonstrating that there is a disparity. So that's essentially why we need it.
But Melissa, what about the CDICR disparity study that was delivered to us just a couple of weeks ago?
And this is there are lawsuits behind this. There
Yeah,
are,
actually-
the city of Boston just recently went through this, and that's why Cambridge is undergoing their own disparity study. Our purchasing department has been working on this, looking at regional cooperation with other communities. This is the only way to be able to create a program specifically geared to helping women and minority vendors, because we need to be able to have this kind of study that demonstrates the need in order to withstand the legal challenges.
But we did a study that doesn't meet the need?
So I think that the components of what's required for the disparity study I think we're following the lead of what Boston did and what Cambridge is doing. So it's a little bit more rigorous than what's already been done.
It's looking
does
at,
each
it's
ta-
looking
does-
at different set of data points, John.
But does each town have to do it individually?
So we're trying to see if we can do something cooperatively, and
Yeah.
David has been working with so he's in the purchasing collaborative groups and he has been working. So to the extent that we can do that to kind of leverage the the other stakeholders involved, we're definitely working towards that goal.
Yeah, because Cambridge or someone else just hired this guy or the company to do the same thing. I mean, why can't we piggyback on them?
Because they have the money to do it right now. They've already, that's essentially, they have the means to get it done. That's why they're ahead of us.
John, your hand is up. Do you want to say
Oh,
something?
I'm
Left
sorry,
foot.
Miriam, but I do want to say something, but I should lower my hand. I've been leaving it up and I didn't mean to. Yeah, I have doubts, as I think Arthur has doubts, that we don't seem to be ready to make this $350,000 turn into an actual improvement in our record of employing vendors that are diverse. Because the problem isn't that we can't prove that there's disparity, economic disparity in Brookline. The problem is we've been beating the bushes to get, minority vendors to apply to Brookline, to service Brookline. And we haven't been doing it in the right way because we're not very good at it. And we really try hard, but we don't seem to have a good plan for how to do it. But proving that there's disparities really isn't why we haven't had a very good track record in this area. And I just can't see sending $350,000 if we're not going to get results from it.
Right.
I think we will get results from it. It will allow us to create a program specifically for those populations. So that is really what is needed. And I can also have the David Giannakakis provide more information on what he's been working on. The amount is basically based on what Cambridge got back for their RFP for the study. So we have a scope of work already flushed out, ready to go out the door. All we need is the funding.
Brian?
Yeah, sorry, I just got to do the logistics thing. I do have a 4:30 hard stop.
Oh, okay.
And that will have
So,
been 2.5 hours. So, and
okay.
I'm not on the board of select, but I'm not used to these long meetings.
Yeah, so I think we have to, I think we just have to do a thumbs up, thumbs down on the disparity study. So give me your thumbs up or thumbs down. I'm an up. I think we need to move this forward. Because my understanding, like Melissa's, is we can't really do anything else until we do this. And it may be that we piggyback it and we find other ways to do this, but one way or the other, this is going to have to be done. And it sounds like it's already ready to go, except for, talking about maybe we could share resources with somebody else, which means then great, we would get some of this money back, but it sounds like we need to do this. So I'm in. Brian, Jenny, Arthur, John. Brian's in. Arthur, where are you going to fall on this?
I'll be in, but first I'd like to be able to find out from whether or not we can piggyback on any of the other municipalities that have also gone this route already. Deborah Brown is talking about going to the local churches and standing out at the end of the service and, pitching whether or not they would be interested in, pursuing contracts with Brookline.
I'm in with Arthur.
Okay, so let's move it up for now, and then we can always pull it out.
Okay, start it.
All right, Jenny, you didn't get to speak. Are you in or?
Oh, I put up my thumb. I agree with
good.
Arthur, though. I think if there's, if we find that there's a way to address this, then we of course would follow that route. I mean, I think we've now got about 3 or 4 things like that where we're
Right.
supportive of them, but if there's alternatives, then we obviously should pursue them.
Right. I think that's right. All right. So I think John and I are both advocating very strongly for the food security for seniors. Anybody have any 4-year food security council on aging? Unless there are
And
any.
how about the farmer's market?
And I would like to move up the farmer's market, but we don't have to keep it at 240,000. I think if we want to cut it down to 100,000 or 150,000, I don't have any objections.
Yeah,
I do. Is everybody okay with that?
100,000 would be my suggestion.
Fine. Brian, Jenny, Arthur,
Fine.
great.
Okay, so 100,000 for the food insecurity or the farmer's market?
Or the
Farmer's market.
Farmer's
Okay.
market.
Well, and the food insecurity.
Yeah,
So-
actually, that's a good compromise.
Yeah.
100,000 for both.
Okay,
And then I have 2243. What is that one?
Well, for each is what we mean.
Yes, for each.
yeah, that's what I'm
right.
doing.
Yeah.
All right.
What's 43?
I don't know. I wrote it down. So now I have to, let me see what it was.
43. I got 46, 48.
I'm looking for
40.
it.
2143 is the lighting study.
No, 2243.
2243, that was the disparity study.
Oh, there it
Oh,
is. Okay.
got it. Okay, fine. That's my list. Did we get everything on everybody's lists? And if we did, we're at 21,171. I actually think that's pretty good.
We didn't get to steps to success, right?
Oh, we didn't get to step to success. You were right. All right, let's talk about it.
Can I see the
This is
buckets,
the
please?
kindergarten program. We
Oh,
already did discuss. We did
Really quick.
discuss. Yeah, let's see what the buckets are. Good call, Tyler.
My recommendation was that they come back in the next round.
And why is that, Arthur?
Well, I think that, again, as I said, let them do what they have on their plate.
Tyler, go back to the buckets a second, please.
Okay,
Go ahead, Arthur. I'm listening. Sorry.
Let's do what they have on their plate at a higher level, okay? In a better way before they go to something else. We still have children, and I'm not saying that they're all from Steps to Success, but we still have Black and brown children that are at a deficit when, on the MCAS.
Okay. So
Everyone may
you're
answer.
saying, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. You're worried that we're going to give them too much to manage in phase one with funding.
Yes.
Okay.
Let them come back phase two. It's in the same academic, school year.
okay, there we go.
And then weren't they one of the other groups that they received funding from the Brookline Community Fund
I don't know.
just yesterday? Yes.
I also want to make the point that I was one of the
It says
people,
yes, they were.
I was one of the, I'm sorry, Miriam, what did you say?
Okay, go ahead.
I'm one of the people that recommended this, but I recommended it at 100, excuse me, I'll get this straight. 1 million, not 1,400,000.
What does everybody else think? Where do we fall on this? I mean, we could fund it at a much lower number as a starter and then have them come back phase two with a follow-up funding number. Okay. Where are you? Where's everybody else on this? Brian, Jenny?
By the way, I believe this is a program that has existed for quite some time and not a new program.
I thought this was a new program.
No.
So Judy Katz clarified in the chat that this is funding for a summer connections program that's been ongoing for 15 years.
And they just want to reach more people with it, is my
Yeah.
assumption.
Then I
So why don't
misread-
we, that's okay, Arthur. Deborah, it's too much.
In for a million.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's fund it for less. Let's start at 750 and then they can apply for phase two funding. How does
Sure.
everybody feel about that?
I heard Brian say 1 million.
Oh,
Well, a lower number. I mean,
oh, wait a minute. No. Now Judy's saying, Arthur, you did read it correctly. Judy's in the chat is saying the BCF money is for summer connections. Our request for kindergarten and expansion in the high school is new. So you are right, Arthur. This is a new program.
Right.
My apologies to Arthur. I was reading what Judy was sending. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, okay. This is the,
So let them come back they have the money from the Brookline Community Fund.
for
They'll
the
have-
summer program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they'll have money from us from phase for steps to success 1. Let them come back in phase 2.
I'm actually fine with that. How does everybody else feel? Jenny's said thumbs up. John?
Well, I'm thumbs up for $1 million, and you know, I can't think of a program that is more targeted at vulnerable populations than this. But
Yeah, I agree with John.
Okay, so let's Arthur, are you okay if we advance this for $1 million and then, or we could even, oh, now my dogs are at it again. We could even advance it for 750. We'll give them half now, and then they can come back in phase 2 requesting the second half.
Okay, that's fine.
How's that?
That's
for
fine.
compromise? All right, let's do that.
700 or 750?
750,000 now, so half now.
Oh, that's more than half. But
Well,
well, let's give them the benefit of the doubt.
yeah, I'm not gonna nickel and dime it.
and then they can come back in phase 2 and request the
You're muted, Miriam.
Yep, it's because my dogs are having a fight fest. And then we'll see where we are. And, you know, the question then is, do we just leave it like this and get public input Monday and come back after the select board? And, you know, after Monday and next Friday, we'll do the final accounting. Do we want to do that? Knowing that we're a little over now. We're not terribly over now. I mean,
We're not terribly over, and we
Yeah.
may end up deciding we can afford to go a little bit over, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tyler, can we see the buckets again, please?
Yeah, sorry, I was just saying what was it?
Yeah, the problem is that we have
We're-
more in the capital, government operations capital than.
Yep.
That's really where it needs to go. 2 million needs to go. Wow, look at the vulnerable populations.
Good.
Dang, we did good except for the government operations capital. If 2 million has to go, it's got to come out of there.
And we got to give it to TNI.
Yeah, I think we're not going to get as much there just wasn't as many TNI requests.
Yeah.
And this is
All right.
something as well where there's a lot of overlap between these. These were genuinely high level buckets. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking there's probably, you know, 2 million of stuff in the government operations that could be called TNI, maybe. I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
So are we comfortable
Infrastructure,
with
come
this
on,
slate
yeah.
as it is now? This is what'll be posted for discussion on Monday. We'll have our public hearing Monday. We'll have the discussion with the select board Monday. And then next Friday, we'll use this as our jumping off point to make our final recommendations. Is
Since
everybody-
Brian has 8 more minutes,
Yes, that's exactly what I.
can we
Plus
do,
also, we've been
can
at
we
it
do
for a
a-
long time.
can we do a slow scroll through what's left at that bottom part of the list, just so that we've all had one last look at it?
John, I'm watching my watch.
I know you are. All right. This one's for you, Brian. We're doing a slow scroll here. No, don't jump too much, Tyler. I know that's hard. I know that's not easy to do, but let's see. Someone
tell me
for this.
when.
Front paper, so it was a hybrid vehicle. And is that it, Tyler? It ends at
Oh,
22.
no, he's got you told him to stop. So
I know,
yeah,
I know.
you can keep scrolling now, Tyler.
Yeah, I'm very difficult to deal with. Sorry.
We know that, John. We love you anyway.
Put
Jenny's
that
got
on
her
the
hand up.
record. Put that on the record of the hearing.
Jenny's got her hand up. Go ahead, Jenny.
Okay, so I would like to see, yes, I think we should share this list as is, but I would like a layer added over it. And it can either be in a memo form or Tyler can make magic happen. I'm not sure what you can do, but I really want to see the layer around disparities. So when we did our scoring, we had to check, a specific box around housing or racial, childcare, all those different boxes. I would like to get a sense of where these proposals align with those disparities. And then I also specifically would like to see how these ranked in terms of how many times we answered yes as to whether or not the organization serves those disproportionately impacted by COVID and specifically BIPOC. Because I think that's just one really important layer that I know we haven't spent a lot of time talking about it, but presumably it was part of the way that we were reviewing the applications. It was one of the ways that I was viewing the applications. We haven't discussed it, but I feel like given the nature of this discussion today, I would really like to see that added layer presented on Monday night. And it doesn't have to be formal. It could be just verbal perhaps, but if there is a way to sort of scrape that information from the reviews that we all conducted, then I would like to see it included.
I'm gonna,
And right now, Jenny, what we can do is uncover the
Yeah.
scores. We can
We
look at some of that right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just for the sake of making sure there's time to have this up, I like that idea, but I think for the sake of making sure there's adequate time for people to actually see this list, because that analysis is gonna take some time.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying, like, maybe
Yeah.
not now, unless you had been able to work magic, but maybe for Monday, and again, that's why I'm saying it could just be narrative form. That's fine for me, but my preference would be to show people how these things ranked specifically in relationship to the things that I just mentioned.
Can you scroll all the way up, Tyler?
Yes.
So
Here.
to the top, yeah. So the ones that made the list, you can at the very least, very quickly now, look at the scores. You some idea, right? The committees, because the committee score sheet was mostly with that BIPOC lens. So.
Miriam,
Except something seems to be wrong with 2270, because I know that's not zero.
That was what I got back.
Okay, Arthur, we'll have to fix that one.
so Brian now has only 3 minutes left to
Yes,
hear
and John, go ahead, John.
to hear my final two requests for possible additions.
Yeah.
And everybody's been very patient with me, but I've got two more, and I'll tell you why. And if Tyler, if you'd scroll down to where the two Chamber of Commerce items are at the bottom of the list there. Again, economic revitalization is really, really important. And you see two proposals, which now you can't see it because we added columns, but the amounts are relatively modest. One is just under 300,000. The other is just under 200,000. One is for a terrific restaurant resiliency seminar for our hard hit restaurants. They've already done one of these, and it really has been helpful in them managing the crisis of COVID and maybe hanging on, clinging to, economic survival. The other is actually a combination economic recovery and food program, which brings restaurants into the, business of providing meals that then go to food insecure individuals, but the restaurants get paid for preparing them. So both really good programs, and they add up to a total of, 425,000. I would settle for just one of them, or ideally.
I was just going to ask you, which is your priority, John?
Oh, well, I think because it combines, economic
22,
recovery and food insecurity, the more expensive one.
Yeah. Well, would you be willing to take that at 200,000? 2215?
I'll take it at any amount that gets the approval of the remaining
committee. What does everybody else think? Jenny, Brian, Arthur?
Supportive of this, and for all the reasons John stated. It's complementary also to the other proposals that we've funded related to economic recovery for the small business community. So
Great.
Very supportive.
200,000, okay, Jenny, with you?
That is also fine with me. If
All
that side, if is that a
200 's the
reason?
vote?
That's John, your proposal?
Well, no, 264 was my proposal, and I did hear you say you supported 264. So if there's three that want us 264, I think that would be better than 200. It's, it's.
I mean, we could always cut it later, right? Because we are going to have to revisit this list one more time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is-
Okay, then I would piggyback on that.
Then what happens to the 164?
we made him choose.
Yeah.
Just like the rest of us had to
Yeah.
make choices.
I'm no, I've done everything I can to fight for proposals, and I'm going to just bow to. I've asked for a lot. I've asked for a lot, and you guys have been really good about adding stuff. So I'm not going to ask for one more.
I think this tension is good. I mean, I think
Yeah.
this is the work. So
I do want to point out really quick too, that I don't want to start a whole new conversation, but this is something that would be worth talking through on Friday, maybe Monday if there's time. Is there a way that this also rolls into the other food related programs? Because this is an area where there's a lot of food related proposals. So is there some way that we have an advantage of combining, taking advantage of like economies of
Yeah.
scale, no redundancies and like
Maybe, but don't forget this one uniquely also helps our restaurants.
That's right. And you know what I realized too is the utility one is still in the bottom. So I think we need to asterisk that one because that, somehow that needs to make its way up here, the utility one. Sorry, everybody.
Because
Because I think it has broad support, but maybe I'm wrong. I thought that's what we discussed. Jenny, Brian, I know you have to go, Brian. So quickly, what's your thought on the utility one?
It was to settle debts that people incurred from utility bills over COVID.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it. I mean, it
By
seems
next month.
very smart. I mean,
Yeah.
I
What was
guess
that, Jenny? What did you say?
It's by May. By next month.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I'm
this
just
would
curious
not
to
be,
know
we
if
couldn't
there's
defer
other
this to phase
programs.
2. This would be, we were talking about somehow giving it to the safety net to distribute.
Right.
But I still think that means funding it. So.
Is
so
that
Jenny, yes,
614,000?
yeah, that's 614. We could always fund it for less, right?
Oh, probably, yeah. I mean, I think the proposal outlined, sort of gave a little bit more on the cost, but
Yeah.
I think there were also, I noted when I talked about this last week, I had questions about that.
Yeah. So let's
Um,
move it up with the asterisk that we have questions and we could fund it for less. So this is something that we'll revisit, but I think it belongs in the upper part. And I have the 3 votes.
Mhm.
All right, are we done?
Well, Brian's done, isn't he?
We're
Brian.
done.
Bye.
Brian, thank you.
Have a good weekend,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Bye, Brian.
Bye, Brian.
All right, let's take a look at our final number. We're probably closer to 23 now, but still. Yep, 23.
Let me
Where
just
are we?
make sure that this is doing its job. Awesome.
There
Yep,
we
we're
go.
at 23, so we're
I don't mind putting more money in vulnerable populations, frankly, but we'll have to figure out the government ops capital stuff. All right, hey guys, we did pretty good.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, we
Yeah.
started with $160 million in proposals. And I obviously we still have to get it down. We're gonna have to make more cuts, but I think we've got a pretty good slate for Monday's hearing.
And we're going to have to make decisions on the school stuff.
Yes, and we're gonna have to make decisions on the school stuff. And I think some of that is gonna come down. If you scroll over, we didn't talk about schools, but I think we just put it in there. We have a total of, how much is total for the schools? 1.17.
It was 1.77 roughly.
Yeah,
3.5 million.
3.5 million. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see.
total. All right.
I see.
So
And I think
some of the numbers are gonna have to come down some places. And again, we said 20 million-ish. So there's a little leeway on that.
Yeah, it'd be great to get some guidance from Mel and Melissa as to whether, whether we could go to 23 million in this
Oh,
round.
and actually, Tyler, the funding recommendation for line 39, there's 360,000 missing there because it's.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, so now we're at 23 million. That's all right. All right, there we are. We're done. Nobody say anything else.
I was gonna say one more thing. What about, 'cause I know we talked about that at the beginning, but what about some of the capital overlay requests? Like, especially with like DPW.
What are you asking? What do you?
So like the fleet replacement pieces, especially for some of the much older equipment out there.
I mean, I don't know what to,
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
One of the-
You know. I see Melissa.
At some point, the town's gonna have to pay for it though, right?
Yeah, I mean.
Either through ARPA or through an appropriation at town meeting, right? I mean, that's the reality. We have to pay for vehicles.
Basically, it's gonna get squeezed out at some point. So, I mean,
Somewhere.
this is basically trying to avoid having to absorb this, which then would cause fallout in other areas of the budget. So
Right.
just trying to avoid having to do that
Yeah.
so that we could support town services.
So
Rick-
I think maybe that, Melissa, this is a proposal that'll have to come from, you know, finance or the town for phase 2.
Which of the line items are we talking about at this point?
Not that, it's under public works. I'm just trying to remember where.
You have like a separate, like little,
Yeah,
or
this
like
was,
3 different.
yeah, this was the bottom table for anything that fell off that wasn't in the top proposals. I don't think this was, so.
2247, is that it? 2147.
Yeah. Yes.
Another thing you might want to do is, at least for the projects that are in the government ops category, is actually, to the extent that they're departmental in nature, have the department head, you know, maybe prioritize what's,
Yeah.
you know, what's currently in the government ops bucket.
I actually think that's a great idea. If it's already in there and they want to take a look and prioritize it, I think that's, will you be able to ask them, Melissa, to add to your plate, add to your to-do list, which I know is really long, so thank you.
Mhm.
I told you I
Um,
promised you
okay.
cutties for everybody.
I just want to point out that one of the reasons I did not vote in favor of the Willow Pond was it's in the capital budget for that's going to town meeting, you know, in May. So I was kind
Well,
of.
I mean, a lot of this stuff, you know, we have to strike a balance, right? Between, and this is also, I think, something the community would be helpful for them to understand. We are striking a balance between directly, direct programming to help ARPA affected community members, but some of the ARPA money is meant to also help town government.
Yeah.
But it is a balance. And so I think for us, I actually think people are going to say whatever it is they're going to say. I think we've done a pretty good job striking that balance.
I think we have too.
All right. Thank you. You guys are the best. We have what we need for Monday. Tyler, thank you for getting I don't know, however you want to do it, a memo or an overlay. What Jenny's asking, I think will be very helpful for us also. I agree.
Okay.
I
Fortunately,
I think you just, Jenny, are you okay if he just does it for the ones that made the final slate?
That was what I was talking about.
Yeah, just
specifically.
the
Sorry,
final
Tyler.
ones, you don't need to do it for all 80.
Not the whole thing.
okay.
And could I also ask that Melissa and Mel and Tyler give us some guidance by Monday on whether the amount over in government operations contains items that could be moved to the other
Technical
categories?
IT, yeah. But
Yeah.
the thing is, John, we are still over by a couple million and it's all in capital. So somewhere, somehow, that's going to have to be trimmed in some way.
Well, no, but we're over because the limits were set on an assumption of 20,000, right?
No, 20 million.
Or 20 million, I know.
Right. I mean, and when I say 20 million, I don't think we want to do 23 million. I think if we get closer to 21, okay, but I don't think we really want to get closer to 23. So we are going to have to make some cuts. We are going to have to trim down some of these programs. And I'm sure that based on the public hearing and the select board, we're going to end up moving up programs that we as the committee maybe necessarily didn't want to move in. So, so we need to hold space for that as well.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I want the public hearing to mean something. I want to hear what the public has to say, and then I want to take that into account as
Yeah.
we make our final decisions.
Sure.
So again, I just want us to be very careful. We're at 23 million, which frankly, I think is some sort of small miracle. And we started out with 160 million in proposals. But we will have to cut it further, and we will have to make space for things that didn't make this list today. I think that's,
Like what?
I don't know, Arthur. That's why we have to hear from the select board and from the public. You know, I think this is why the public hearing part is so important, because otherwise, you know, we have our priorities, but we are really representing the public in a way.
Absolutely, but I can't hardly think of something that someone is going to bring forward. Okay.
But you know what? But that's the joy of it, because if I could think of it, I wouldn't need, if we could think of it, we wouldn't need the public hearing.
Yeah, right. Okay. I mean, maybe someone's going to say we have to feed hippopotamus, you know.
Maybe. I just think, to me, this is where the collective mind has has value. And even if we hear it and we may not agree with it, this is where the collective mind has value.
Just make sure Arthur gets to review the hippo proposal. Because I was going to vote for it.
Okay.
Okay, we're getting silly.
I know. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you Monday.
Thank you. See you Monday night. Have
Bye,
a great
everybody.
weekend. Bye-bye.